Good afternoon, Hawkeye Nation. It is National Signing Day. A fun day. Busy day. Busy time. And yes, there has been some negative stuff going on. I should say disappointing news items over the last 24 hours. But we are here talking Iowa Signing Day and National Signing Day, the Hawkeyes 2023 class, which I believe is just about completely inked in. And yes, I already see a comment. We'll discuss the Caden Proctor situation on this show, folks. We've got 4 hours to do it. We've got Iowa Hawkeye signees jumping on the show throughout the afternoon. Appreciate everybody who is here so far. We got about 50 people here jumping on at the outset. This is going to be a little different than a normal live show here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. And the reason I say that is 4 hours is a long time. So if you were here a year ago, or maybe I would guess a lot of you started following the channel in the past year. But if you were here a year ago at this time, this is not the first time I've done one of these live shows. It does involve quite a bit of work, quite a bit of planning, quite a bit of scheduling. So I appreciate everybody supporting the show. Please be patient because there will probably be moments during this show where there's not a lot going on. And as I say, not a lot going on, I may have to pause to do some promoting on social media. Here's one way you can help, folks. As we truck through this afternoon, please do this at the outset. And if you need to go away from the stream for a second, go ahead and do that. First, please scroll down and hit the like button, right? It's a little thumbs up. If you're on a desktop, whatever, I know it's a little bit harder to find maybe on a smart TV. Please do that. All right. Please do that because certainly that helps us in the algorithm, helps this show. More people will be able to find the content. And certainly if you're not subscribed, I appreciate you watching the show. Please subscribe. That does help. Hit the little bell for notifications because we're doing live stuff all year round, including Iowa basketball postgame shows. We'll be doing an Iowa basketball postgame show after the Eastern Illinois game today. Yes, the game got moved up to 2:30, which means it'll end at about 4:30, which means I'll be going live at 5 right after I go off the air on this show. So I hope people appreciate the content, trying to do my best. Appreciate Gary Close, Coach Gary Close, who I expect to be joining us on that show at about 5 p.m. Central Time. And again, the athletes who have taken time, who will be taking time out of their afternoon to make this show a priority, I appreciate that as well. We're going to be taking your calls, taking your chats, taking your questions. If I get behind on the chat, it does not mean that I forgot about you or your contribution isn't important. That's not what it means. I've got a friend here who's kind of helping in the background. So if I need something, I may have to go off camera for a second and ask him for some assistance. So again, hang tight. I don't have 20 producers, or even I don't have any producers. I don't have people who can help do all the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm trying to manage the chat, manage the call line, manage interviews, social media, all that stuff. So I'm not complaining about it. I enjoy doing it, but just please be patient if there are moments where I have to take a moment. All right. Yeah, I see Jesse in the chat. I don't understand why the University of Iowa scheduled 2 basketball games on the same day as signing day. That makes no sense to me. And you may say, well, they weren't supposed to fall in the afternoon. Well, you're right. The winter storm moved those games up, and I understand why they did that. What I have a problem with is National Signing Day is a spectacle, and football is the biggest sport, obviously. It's the biggest money-making sport, revenue-producing sport for the university. I just don't understand why you need to find a way to give any fans reason not to watch one of your 2 basketball teams, which are, by the way, number 2, I think number 3. I think women's basketball is wrestling's pretty close, right? Wrestling and women's basketball would certainly be 3A and 3B for the University of Iowa. I just don't understand why you could schedule these games. I would think you could have scheduled these games on Thursday. You certainly could have scheduled them on Tuesday, but you got a doubleheader today. They got moved up. So those games, the women I believe, are underway as we speak. So I'll try to give you some updates on that as well. But certainly we're talking football here throughout the afternoon. So first things first, I mentioned liking the video, the stream. Certainly subscribe if you haven't done so. I say this, and sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a wall. I know some of you do this, and I do appreciate it. But if you're on social media, and I know most of you are in some form of social media, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, whatever, Twitter, Instagram, please take a moment to copy, hit that little share button on this stream and share it out to your friends. If you pull in 1 or 2 friends, imagine if everybody did that. Imagine we got 105 people watching right now. If all 105 people brought even 1 friend, we double our view count, and that would help the channel. So please do that. That is much appreciated. Take a moment. Again, if you have to leave the stream and come back, that's okay, because that will help us in the long run. And certainly, if you are interested in sponsoring any of the content, hopefully you recognize that there's hard work being put in, not just by me, but by other people to make the content the best of the best right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. You can reach out to me by email from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. That's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. And we've got one of our sponsors who's been gracious enough to sponsor the show today. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. You can also donate to the channel. There are links to Venmo, Cash App, PayPal in the description below. You're welcome to donate via Super Chat, but I can tell you this, folks, the Super Chat option, YouTube takes a significant cut. I'm not going to, complain about that. I appreciate that being there available, but PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, if you can do so, those are available by means of the description below. All right, we've got the phone line open. We've got people waiting in StreamYard, and we've got recruits coming in here soon. So let's hang tight. Let's get to our first caller on the phone line. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Okay.
All right. Don't know what that was. We'll move on to our next caller. The Storm. Who's on the line? Hello. Thank you for calling. Who's on the line? Hello. Is this Kellen? Kellen, you're on the air. Kellen, can you hear me? Kellen's gone. All right. Well, we tried. We're 0 for 2. We struck out. So let's just hope this we don't get 3 strikes and you're out. Oh, as for Hawks, are you with us?
I'm here.
Hey,
can you hear me?
Sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
I'm always here, so don't worry about me.
I appreciate that. How's your afternoon going?
It's going well. Prepared for the weather coming in. I just wanted to mention, you said something about Thursday, scheduling games Thursday. I understand why any university in Iowa is moving games away from Thursday with the threat of a blizzard coming in. So well, to me, it's very understandable.
Well, my issue was not, first of all, the games were scheduled for Wednesday originally. I'm not advocating for them to be pushed back. I'm just saying when they were scheduled in the first place, the university had reason to believe that they knew when National Signing Day is. So why schedule these games on a Wednesday in the first place? That's my problem.
Yeah, I think normally that would not happen other than the weather, but that's it. I wanted to talk.
I'm just saying they're already scheduled. They were already scheduled today.
Oh, okay. I got you.
They were scheduled before the weather. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
that didn't make any sense. But you're right. If they'd fallen on Thursday, they might have been canceled because they wouldn't be able to move them up. It wouldn't have made a difference. Anyways, I digress.
Mainly, I wanted to say something about Caden Proctor and some of the comments that are going on. Kind of, I don't want to say bashing the kid, but talking to them about the timeline in which he did it, one day before signing day and things like that. And I think that we need to realize that there's a new day and era in college football. College football is not what it was 25 years ago or 20 years ago. When you signed, you stayed, period, or you didn't. Once you've made it a commitment, you stuck with it. I'm sorry, but that boat has left the harbor. I don't think it's ever coming back. So I think we're just going to have to learn to live with the fact that some of these kids are going to change their mind. My other point was, and I love my Hawkeyes, I love Iowa, but I have to say, I played football in high school and small college. If I had an offer to play at Alabama, as opposed to Iowa, with, a much larger chance of playing in the national championship game, I tell you what, that would be awful hard to turn down. under any circumstance, even if I have family in Iowa and things like that. And I understand all those things, and those things are extremely important. But we are talking about teenagers here, guys. We're not talking about 30-year or 40-year-old adults. So, things like that are going to turn their heads. And I don't begrudge anybody going after something that might be a dream of theirs. But anyway, the only other thing I've noticed before you came on, I was looking at the screen and I saw the picture of all those signees coming, and I couldn't. The thought going through my head is, man, there's a lot of young faces there.
Absolutely.
That's really all I had to say. And thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate
Corey,
it, sir.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling. And he's right, absolutely right. I mean, that was my big fear yesterday. Like Caden Proctor, I wish him the best. I know some people don't. Some people begrudge him because of his decision to flip yesterday, and I get it to an extent. But he's a human being. He's an 18-year-old kid. I mean, just like, he's going to do what he's going to do. There's no reason to go to social media and whine about it. It is what it is. I get being frustrated. He's the biggest recruit, highest rated recruit, maybe the biggest, like actually size-wise as well, 6'8", whatever he is, 320. But there's no reason to whine about it. And let's be honest, the timing of it is unfortunate. What you don't want is the situation with Caden Proctor to overshadow the number of young athletes who are signing today, who have signed today, and are making life-changing decisions today. I understand the fanfare and the acclaim and all that good stuff as it relates to Caden Proctor. I get that. Hopefully, we're going to have those discussions today. We got 4 hours on the air. We got recruits coming on here. We're going to be taking your calls, again, questions. But the bottom line is there's a lot of great things to talk about, and futures who are changed based on decisions that were made in the past couple of years that will be finalized today, that have been finalized today via signing their national letters of intent. So appreciate the phone call, and I see Leo's on hold, but I believe we've got Alex Mota joining the show. Alex, welcome to the show, sir.
What's going on? Thank you.
Well, Alex, first of all, you are the first right out of the gates here this afternoon, and we just want to say congratulations on your signing today. How does it feel now to officially be a part of the Swarm?
Pretty cool. I know the guys are all excited. I know we're excited to get down there this summer, so it's be pretty dope.
And Alex, we had you on the show before. You understand, and I believe we had you on the show before the season started. So you understand that wide receiver is a position of need here.
Yep.
And you bring speed. You bring kind of a versatile skill set because you played a lot of quarterback in high school. For those, and we'll certainly share that interview out. I encourage people to go back on the channel and watch that interview we had with you a while back. But tell people what they can expect once Alex Mota gets to campus.
They can expect a lot of things. I can kick return, punt return, a lot of special teams too, get on the field right away. And then the offense, deep threat, me and Marco, that would be pretty cool. K too, like quick hitches, just make things happen in space. So that's what they can expect.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you were throughout high school, you played quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were a guy who was dual threat. But as time went on, this season, you primarily were at wide receiver, correct?
I was at wide receiver for the first game. I didn't get the ball. I got the ball like 3 times. So they switched me to running back the second game. And then I was mostly a running back, and then I'll go out and slot every once in a while.
So my question to you, Alex, is what sort of a transition period has Kelton Copeland and the Iowa offensive staff talked to you about? What is that going to be like? At least I know you haven't done it yet, but that's got to be somewhat nerve-wracking to kind of go in head first into a position group that, again, needs help.
Yeah, he pretty much said that, honestly, I'll know all 3 positions on the field, the slot, and then both sides of the field. So it's pretty even.
And obviously, we mentioned your speed.
Yep.
You are a guy who can take the top off of defense, which I believe Iowa needs. I don't think there's any question about it. What as far as it relates to your strengths, we've talked about this in the past. How would you sum up your strengths that you believe you bring to Iowa as a pass catcher?
Me, I can track the ball pretty well. I didn't get very many catches this year, but the catches I was able to catch, I caught them. And then just be able to just read the defense too, you know, sit in the zones, you know, burn a DB or safety when it's needed to. So I think that's what I bring.
And being close to home,
Yeah.
and as it relates to signing today and making it official,
Mm-hmm.
you feel to know that you're able to be a part of a school that you've been following and been around your entire life.
Yeah, pretty much. My family's moving to Corville. They're going to be about 10, 15 minutes away from the campus, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm curious on this. So playing quarterback a lot in high school.
Yeah.
Is that do you feel like that equips you better for understanding the passing game?
Yeah.
Having not played wide receiver, but you have that experience. Certainly, you're not going from being a DB in high school exclusively to being a receiver. You actually are part of the passing game. What do you take from being a quarterback at the high school level that you think will help you at Iowa?
Well, it was when I started actually like understanding the game more as a QB because, you know, I had to study the playbook, you know, go watch film, what's the defense doing and stuff like that. So just being able to like manipulate the defense, you know, to see what they're doing, their tendencies and what zones they're in, all that coverages. It just helped me a lot to receiver and then, you know, just be able to sit in those zones and all that stuff.
247 Sports has got you at 6'1", 175. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm about like 180 now during basketball season. It's pretty solid.
And I guess kind of my final question, Alex, you have been committed for a while now.
Yep.
You are a guy who's active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age, social media is an integral part of recruiting. You have been a recruiter yourself. What's it been like kind of being a recruiter for the university since you committed?
It's pretty cool, you know, get to know the guys a lot more. I really want to Asa, but he wants somewhere else, but that's his decision, you know, what's best for him. I've talked to the receivers, you know. I'm rooming with Dayton, so we're going to try to get that connection going, get her early. You know, I've talked to Marco too, so yes, it was really fun, to be honest.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you are enrolling in the summer, correct?
Yeah, in the summer.
So you and Dayton will be roommates, and we'll be able to build that bond. He, of course, has a very intriguing skill set at 6'5".
Yeah,
he's indicated he might be closer to 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
Very, very unique skill set you two bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about his background with basketball and how it's helped him, you know, specifically with jumping and being able to win those jump balls. You, of course, would probably attest the same. How does being a part of other sports at the high school level equip you for Iowa?
Definitely the competition, you know, just being able to compete against somebody else really helps you, you know, get that winning mentality because we're winning some games right now. You know, lockdown and defense, the energy, and being a leader on the court too. This translates to the field.
You mentioned Marco. You mentioned Asa Newsom, who just committed to Kansas State, unfortunately. There's always a transfer portal, Alex.
True.
So, but I want to ask you specifically about this class. Have you grown into a tight relationship with Marco? Are there guys that you, obviously you're going to be living with Dayton, so you're going to be close to Dayton, but are there other guys in this class that you've grown tight with? Yeah,
definitely Marco. Definitely during our official visit, I think all of the recruits, we all hung out a lot. We all kind of like took a piece from each other, you know, understand each other more. So I definitely think we'll be able to reunite a lot more better when we get into the summer. You know, just reconnect again.
And we talked about it too. And I promise this is my final question for you. We talked about it last interview. What was it about Coach Copeland and Iowa that, besides just being a homegrown kid and there being a need here for electrifying guys out wide, what made it so easy to make this decision when you did?
Well, I didn't commit just off the coaches. I just committed off the school, you know, because Iowa was a great school. I'm going to be able to get my degree there too. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then I met Coach Copeland after I said I wanted to play receiver. And then, the odds just fell in. He was a pretty good coach, you know, talked to me about what's it like going to be there, you know, the struggles, the positives, all that stuff.
And that was my last question, but Ryan in our chat has a question for you. He wants to know if you know Tegan Davis, the recent commit from Princeton, Illinois, that just committed a few days ago.
I mean, we've talked in the group chat, but like I haven't really talked to him personally now.
Okay, quite an athlete himself. Played a lot of quarterback in high school. And,
he's a DB, right?
Yeah, so you two will be matching up against each other, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Early and often. Alex, again, Alex Mota from Marion in eastern Iowa, just not too many miles away from Iowa City. And good to hear your family will be even closer in Coralville, making it down 380 and standing at 6'1", about 180 now as we head into 2023, and we'll see you here in the summer. Congratulations on the big day.
Thank you.
Hey, Alex, the signing, and we look forward to seeing you making some big plays here soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Alex Mota, Marion receiver, who is now officially a member of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Appreciate Alex hopping on the show and being a part of it. And boy, he is a guy who is going to be very, very, very important. I think that's it's true of all of Iowa's receivers, but I mean, ratings wise, he's the top guy. I mean, certainly like Dayton Howard's upside. He's a guy who kind of was a late bloomer, went off his senior year of high school. Jarriett Bowie is a guy that Iowa needed and got late in the cycle, but Alex Mota has been here throughout. He hasn't wavered in his commitment. Yes, he's a homegrown kid. It's not real often that you have a lot of skill position players like Alex Mota from the state of Iowa. I mean, he is a unique skill set. And yes, Iowa's gotten some, Brody Breck's an opportunity of a guy from Ankeny. Arlen Bruce moved up here, but, he was originally the Kansas City area. Mota's a speedster. And I think Alex is going to fit in well. They're going to give him something that Iowa can utilize. He may play early. He's not enrolling early, but he may play early simply because of need and simply because of his skill set. One thing, if you look at Iowa's roster and how they've been recruiting at that position, a lot of bigger guys, and that's okay. But Coach Don Patterson has talked about that on this show in the past. You can have big guys, but, look at a guy like Tyreek Hill, right? I mean, maybe at one point in his career, I think you could have said confidently that he was the best receiver in the league, and the guy's not even 6 foot, I don't think. So guys who can take the top off a defense, height is somewhat overrated at times. And Iowa's got tall guys. Brody Breck's a tall guy. Jacob Bostic, 6'2". Dayton Howard, 6'5", 6'6". Jarriett Bowie, 6'2", and maybe 6'3". Mota's 6'1", but he's a guy who I would consider to be more of a speedster, but has got decent height as well. So good stuff. Appreciate Alex Mota being here. And Leo asked us in our private chat, will he play right away? Well, possibility. It's obviously easier when you are enrolled early. But again, he's been committed for a while. He's been prepping for this a while. And the need at receiver is one. And we don't know what Iowa's going to do in the portal at that position. They've been trying to go after Seth Anderson, the kid from Charleston Southern. Last update I got is sounds like maybe he'll wait a little longer before he makes a decision. I don't know that we're going to get a decision. I don't think we're going to get a decision in the next week or two. Sounds like we may not get a decision from him until January. So it sounded for a while after he visited Iowa, I was told, hey, we may hear something from Seth Anderson quickly. Sounds like that's been put on the back burner, and he's going to take his time a bit here. I don't think it'll be extended, but he's not signing today. And it depends on what Iowa gets in the portal. If they get a couple of guys like Tesla from Hillsdale, Division II kid that a lot of schools are after, and Seth Anderson, then you can assume that some of these younger guys can take time to develop. But otherwise, you may call on a Jacob Bostic or an Alex Mota to be early contributors. And that's why the bowl game is important. You get the guys like Jacob Bostic, certainly Deontay Vines hasn't played a whole lot. Get those guys going now. If they can have a big showing and gain some confidence in Nashville, that will certainly pay dividends. And trial by fire there are growing pains associated with being thrown into the lineup right away, regardless of position. But dividends are big, and Caleb Johnson's a perfect example. Caleb Johnson, I know running back and receiver, different playing early. Certainly running back's a lot easier to learn. That position is probably the easiest to learn on the football field, on the football team, on offense or defense, I would guess. It'd be a better question for a guy like Coach Patterson, but Mota's going to have an opportunity. You see freshman receivers play. It's not like being an offensive lineman or a tackle or a linebacker. So would not be surprised if we see Alex Mota relatively early. Let's get to Leo, who has been on hold. Leo, welcome to the show, sir.
How you doing, Corey?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Hey, so the gentleman that just called Alex Mota, he reminds me, I haven't really seen him, but his size and stuff, he kind of reminds me like it'd be neat if I would use him like we use AJ Henning. AJ Henning is a slot guy. He's
okay.
fast. Yeah, Henning. He's
I heard you say Henne, and I'm thinking Chad Henne. Okay, yes.
No, Henning, AJ Henning, not Chad.
Yep, I do remember him.
Oh, I haven't heard his name in a long time.
You're talking to anybody that you're a Michigan fan, correct?
Right, right. So, AJ's about 5'10", 185. Speed guy, returns kicks. No, we get him in there for trickery plays and things, and it sounds like he's a Swiss Army knife. So, looks like a good little pickup for you guys. Oh, and Corey, so I wanted to congratulate you guys on Eric All. My goodness.
Now, let's talk about Eric All. He's a guy who signed today.
My goodness. But that's got to be Cade. I guarantee you Cade's fingerprints is all over that. I guarantee. And you remember we were talking about Cade's connection to everybody. I don't know if you've seen Mikey Sanders still. Did you see his tweet to Cade?
No.
He said that he is 100% the reason he flipped his commitment to come to the University of Michigan. It was because of Cade McNamara. Again, we talked about him having the locker room, and he's going to have yours. He's just a good guy. He got Eric All over there. I know he did. And if you don't know Eric All and McNamara connection, ask Penn State. They'll tell they know about it, right? See that final little crossing pattern over to Eric All, and he took it to the house. Oops, sorry. I have my son here too. Go. I have my 2-year-old.
So did that surprise you as a Michigan fan that Eric All, that he went in the portal? It seemed like that took a lot of Michigan fans by surprise.
It not only surprised me, he sounds like a little bitter about something. I don't know what it could be, or he's a stud. He is a stud. He's big, he's fast, he blocks tenaciously. I know you guys had Laporta. The only thing about Laporta is, for me, it seemed like nobody would guard him or something, or they wouldn't cover him. He just seemed to be open all the time. But Eric All is a good receiver, man. Or a good tight end. You're not losing much. You're not going to lose much.
There's, for the record, Leo, certainly I'm no tight ends coach, but there's usually a reason why these guys are open over and over. I would say it's probably a testament to Sam Laporta and what he's doing. The reason he's open over and over.
Yeah,
again.
no, well,
you're the only guy in the offense too that is, and that's the case much of this year. Spencer Petras wasn't comfortable with many other, especially when Nico Reganey was out. It was the Sam Laporta show, and the fact that he continued to get open is a testament to his ability to translate to the next. I think he's gonna be a great tight end in the NFL.
Oh, great, yeah, definitely. He got the speed, the size. He's kind of tenacious when he runs. I like him. But his level and Eric All's level is not too much of a different. I'm telling you, Eric All's going to make, especially with McNamara at quarterback, he's going to make a huge difference there for you guys.
And we assume Luke Lachey, Iowa tight end Luke Lachey, who I know Michigan fans don't know as much about. You assume he'll take a big jump. They've got a transfer in from graduate transfer, a fifth-year guy in from Lafayette, developed this year. Maybe he contributes. You may see some 3 tight end sets finally again. It's been a while since we've seen a lot of those. Minus around the goal line. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how they use All, and will they get more than 1 year out of a guy like Eric All? I would guess if he has a good year, he'll be jumping back to the league. Yeah,
definitely. And so how's your transfer portal? How's your signing day going today?
Other than the obvious news that broke yesterday, it's a great day, right? I think it's a very balanced class across. And Iowa did some good work late in the cycle to make up for some, I don't want to say weaknesses, but some holes, especially at receiver. And they got a guy in Terrell Washington who, we'll see, kind of maybe like a Tyrone Tracy. You can move him kind of around the field, move him in the backfield. We'll see what they do with him. But they need help in the trenches. They need help at wide receiver. And you're positive about guys like Alex Mota because you need playmakers, and he's a guy who can be that.
Wow. Ours is, I don't think we've had such a low recruiting class.
Michigan's got having some success in the transfer portal. So,
yeah, we did.
Obviously, Ernest Hausman, number one, at least in my book. So,
yeah.
Leo, we've got a recruit waiting on hold. You're more than welcome to call.
No. Hey, go for it. I want to hear him. I'll be more than happy to hear him.
Sounds good, Leo. Thank you. All right, folks, we are trucking along here. Again, thank you to Alex Mota for being a part of the show. All right. we are trucking along here. Let's get to Leighton Jones, the one and only Leighton Jones joining the show. Leighton, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Great stocking cap. What's the temperature like in Brownsburg?
It's pretty cold. I actually just opened it for Christmas, so I thought I'd wear it.
Looks great, man. And it might be cold there. It cannot possibly be as cold as it's going to be in the coming days. We got high of -4, I think, tomorrow, like -5 on Friday. So you are from the Midwest. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. What's it going to be like in a year from now? And, of course, down the road, playing in a cold and snowy Kinnick Stadium?
I mean, it's really no difference. It's honestly the same thing. I've always played in the snow, whether it was for travel and in middle school and elementary. So it's nothing I'm not used to. If I was a kid from Florida or Georgia, I'd definitely be a little concerned, but I mean, nothing that I'm not used to.
All right. So we know the measurables that these different recruiting sites put out there aren't always accurate. Iowa published this today, and unless I misread this, Iowa in their official release about Leighton Jones, it says you're 6'4", or 6'2". We've got 247 Sports that claims you're 6'4". What's the truth?
Think I am 6'3".
Okay, let's just split the difference, right?
Yeah,
let's just split the difference. So you, first of all, congratulations on signing. Just a tremendous accomplishment that you've seen realized today. I want to obviously ask you this question. We talked with you a while back, but is your outlook that you're a future center? Is that kind of the commonality?
Yeah, it's definitely come into full swing now. I mean, whenever wrestling practice ends early, I get in snaps with my dad after I shower, and sometimes during study hall, go to the weight room and get in snaps with my head coach. So I mean, yeah, it's just slowly getting better and get used to it.
And for people who haven't seen our interview with you from months ago, and again, I encourage people to do that. You are a guy that Iowa identified as a center, right? I mean, it's not like they had a bunch of tape to look at from you playing the center position. So what did Iowa see when they recruited you and offered you that they kind of explained to you that reason why they thought you'd be successful at that position?
Yeah, at camp, KF, I did pretty good at camp, so KF kind of saw my wrestling background, as well as Coach Bell, and thought I'd be better at O-line than I was D-line. And obviously because of measurables and as well as my wrestling background, kind of was like a no-brainer for them for as center. Most of the guys they've had in the past, like Austin Blythe and Linderbaum, Logan Jones kind of came from D-line, wrestlers. Yeah, so it was a pretty easy comparison for them.
What's with the number 65? Why is that so? That's just the permanent number for all Iowa centers now. Leighton, what's going on there?
I don't know. I had my first photo shoot at the junior day like last year, and I wore 85. And then Barnett just gave me 65. I was like, all right, if I'm good enough to wear it, then let's go. But I don't know what number I'm going to be next year, especially if Logan keeps 65. I'm still kind of up in there.
And for anybody that is not keeping up here, this means we've got an L. Jones who's the starting center, and we've got an L. Jones who will be competing to be the starting center. So you love those little intricacies, I guess. Anybody that I know you have been. I said this to Alex Moda, who was on the show a few minutes before you jumped on. You have been locked in for a while, right? And there was never really any doubt that you were going to be signing on the 21st of December. But what's it been like kind of being a recruiter? I know you're active on social media. What's it been like kind of being at the forefront of this class? And you are the center, so everybody thinks the quarterback is the guy. But boy, we learned this from Tyler Linderbaum and some of the struggles that Iowa has dealt with here recently at that position. Center is an absolutely tremendously important position for any football team, especially Iowa. What's it been like being the recruiter as a future center at Iowa?
It's been really good, kind of getting to know all the guys, especially with the O-line. I mean, it didn't take much to persuade some of those guys to be offensive linemen at Iowa, obviously. But yeah, just getting to know them, just deeper relationships, because I know we're going to soon to be fighting for each other come fall. So.
And yes, I just want to make a correction. I saw that OS for Hawks in our chat says that he's not from Iowa. I said Brownsburg, Iowa. Yes, Brownsburg, Indiana. We're just excited to get you here, Leighton. So I guess my question, as it relates to your recruiting process, you were recruited by, I'm assuming in part by George Barnett. Obviously, different coaches recruit different positions. But what do you like about Coach Barnett?
He's a really honest guy. He kind of told me from the jump he's not gonna beg anyone to go. You obviously see that the past few days. He doesn't want to beg anyone, or he's not gonna be an annoying coach. You know, some coaches on official visits they'll blow up kids' phones, and he's not doing that. He kind of just a phone call maybe every once a week. But yeah, I've gotten to build a great relationship with him, especially since I've committed. We're kind of like each other's guys right now. Yeah, getting my wrestling meet. He was here for dinner last week. So yeah, it's been great.
I had somebody tell me during this past season, and this is no offense to Iowa's previous O-line coach, Tim Polisek, who's went on to have a nice tenure at Wyoming. He was kind of a yeller and a screamer. And I've been told on good authority that George Barnett is not a yeller and a screamer. Not that both can't be effective. I understand, Leighton, there are guys who coach in different manners, but you have not been coached per se by George Barnett. But is that an accurate description of who he is as a person?
Definitely. We've also kind of had those conversations. It's something he talks about in the junior days and all the visits and stuff. Especially, we have had player panels with like Mason Richmond, Connor Colby, Jack Plum, and they said the exact same thing, that Polisek was kind of a yeller, and Barnett's really patient. I mean, obviously he's going to get on you, but yeah, he's not going to scream.
What's it like knowing that your head coach is considered to be an O-line guru?
It definitely helps with my like trust and confidence and the fact that they could get me to where I want to go, and just get better every single day.
And your experience at Brownsburg, how has that prepped you for playing in the Big Ten?
It's been so great. My coaches, we've had like 3 O-line coaches this year, so they all kind of like add into what they think we should do better. And it's been really good to kind of hear everyone's feedback, and we've produced a lot of Division I O linemen. Not just me this year, but our center has an offer too from a D1 school he signed today. We have probably like two or three more guys in college football right now, Division I level at O line. So I mean, they know what they're doing.
Was it hard turning down Purdue? You're an Indiana kid. I know Purdue offered. Was that difficult?
It wasn't difficult at all. I mean, it's maybe an hour away, but they didn't really invite me to their junior days. Didn't make me feel like I was a priority. And the visitors, okay. You know, I went to the Purdue Iowa game this year, and Kinnick Stadium is definitely a lot different than Ross-Ade. I felt like it was very quiet.
I was at that same game. Well, first of all, the wind was a problem, but
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Kinnick blows Ross-Ade out of the state, and I don't have anything against Purdue, but it blows Ross-Ade out of this water.
Yeah, and you just have to be there to experience it. Kinnick Stadium's a lot different than most places.
Last couple minutes of this chat, Leighton. People are obviously more than welcome to throw questions into the chat, and Ryan's got one for you. Have you met any NFL offensive linemen that used to play for the Hawks?
I met Tristan Wirfs on the official visit. He was there the whole weekend, and it was pretty cool to see him there. He he didn't act like he was above everyone else, even though he's probably one of the highest paid tackles in the league. Yeah, he talked to a bunch of the other O-line guys like me, Trevor. Got a picture with him. It's pretty cool.
And he adds, "Are you a Colts fan?"
I'm not really a Colts fan. It was a lot of my buddies are. I like Zach Martin.
Okay.
I'm kind of a Cowboys Chiefs guy. Cowboys usually have a good alignment, so I kind of drifted towards them, especially Zach Martin.
Probably a good week not to, you know, give your devotion to the Colts. What on earth?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, of course. I'm talking about the comeback the other day.
Yeah.
That was as much impressive by Minnesota as embarrassing for Indianapolis. Well, Leighton, you are planning on getting here, I believe, in the summer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you will be here in the summer, and again, just how does it feel to finally be locked in and know you're going to be a part of this team in less than a year?
It feels great. A bunch of hard work going into this moment. Something I've looked forward to, not just since I've committed, but since I kind of realized I wanted to play football on the next level. Yeah, it's been great. So much hard work, and now it's paying off. Even though I have a lot much to go.
Well, Leighton Jones from the great community of Brownsburg, Indiana, and you're going to bring that Midwest toughness to Iowa City, and we're excited to have you here, and certainly Iowa has a need along that offensive line, and we look forward to seeing you competing for playing time here next year.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining the show, Leighton. All right, Leighton Jones from Brownsburg, Indiana. Excited for him. He has been a guy, just like Alex Moda, a guy who's been at the forefront of kind of off-the-scene recruiting, if you will. And I can't express enough how, especially in this day and age of social media, how important it is that you have these guys early. I'm talking early commits who are willing to kind of be at the forefront of recruiting because players are almost every bit of recruiters as coaches are. I mean, look at the Michigan situation. We had our caller call in a few minutes ago talking about Cade McNamara and Eric All, that situation. I mean, these connections, and I understand the situation with Caden Proctor, but Xavier Wampa was a big part of why Caden Proctor committed in the first place. So appreciate Leighton Jones. He has got a bright future, and I know there were some growing pains for Logan Jones this year, but Iowa, you trust what they're doing as it relates to identifying offensive linemen and identifying defensive linemen who are going to be offensive linemen, right? I mean, you brought up Tyler Linderbaum. What a great example. And Logan Jones is a former defensive lineman. He'll get better. And then, of course, Michael Myslinski, Leighton Jones will get there, and there'll be some real healthy competition. They've dealt with some injuries at center in recent time. Leighton Jones will help provide some really good competition for an offensive line that needs some help. I don't think there's anybody doubting that. All right, before we get to our next individual, actually, let's before we get to our caller, we have got I believe Cannon Leonard on the line. Cannon, how you doing, sir?
I'm good.
First of all, man, you decked out your bed. You didn't do this for this show, right? This has been ever since you committed. Before you committed, you got Hawkeye stuff everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's been like this since I committed. Yeah.
All right, so listen, I mean all the best when I ask this question, but I have to ask the question. When you committed, my reaction on this very show was, wow, this kid's 6'9". What if he grows to 6'10"? Are you okay? What's your real height? Can you just get the elephant out of the room?
No, I think I'm seriously like a legit 6'8" or 6'9". Yeah.
Wow. So I want to ask you this because first of all, your size is intriguing. Obviously, you bring much more to the field than just size. You have a really rich football family. We'll talk about that as well. When Iowa recruited you, I'm sure your size got brought up a time or two. Like what was that? What were those conversations like? How did Iowa evaluate you as it relates to being taller than most at tackle?
Yeah. Ever since the beginning of the recruiting process, it's been about my size and my frame and about how they'll be able to put weight on me. And, you know, a big thing with the game now is offensive tackles being athletic and having a lot of length. So, I mean, that's one of the things that really boosted my recruiting.
And throughout you grew up in the state of Illinois, right? Talk a little bit about your family. Again, I mentioned at the outset that you've got some serious football in your family, right? This is a football family. Talk a little bit about the Leonard family.
Yeah, so my dad's been my offensive line coach since like 3rd grade. And then my older brother Clayton, he was offered by Illinois and committed right away, and he's down there now. He's going to be really good. And then I have a younger brother also who'll be really good. And I mean, last year we all 3 started on varsity right next to each other, and football's a big thing in the family.
What's it been like growing up in the community of Gilman? What's Iroquois West like? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, Gelman is the town I go to high school in, but there's actually multiple towns that go to that school. I live in the country of Danforth, which has like a population of like 500 people.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a lot of small town living. Like everybody knows everybody, and you know, it's just like a big thing for me was to like represent the community well.
What kind of nicknames have you had growing up with a name like Cannon?
Haven't had many, not really.
Well, there's a first for everything. You're going to have plenty once you get to Iowa. Blake in our chat wants to know what Iowa offensive linemen have you admired? Is there any specifically? I mean, obviously, you didn't say you were an Iowa fan growing up, but are there specific guys that have come through this program that you admire?
I mean, Gallery was one guy I really admired once I started to like get to know the program because of his size and how good he was. But I mean, obviously, Tristan Wirfs is a guy you can really look up to. A really good offensive lineman, yeah.
And as far as development is concerned, what's the next step? I'm assuming you're going to get to Iowa in the summertime. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yep.
So you'll be at Iowa in the summer. Obviously, they're going to get you bigger. I mean, you're big. No, there's no doubting that. But they'll get you in the strength room and the strength program. But what have they talked about as far as the initial acclimation to Iowa football? What's the first step in Cannon Leonard's development once you get to college?
Definitely just getting stronger and putting weight on. I mean, I think it was last year after basketball season, I was down at like 240, and now after this football season and like really dedicating myself to the weight room and my nutrition, I've gotten up to around 270. So they just want to keep putting on the weight, but they don't want to rush anything. They want to make sure it's healthy and it's a good way to put on weight. But I mean, I've already had meetings with on my official visit. I had a meeting with the strength coach, and you know, they're just really going to push me through that program. It's a really good program and just going to, really develop me into a good offensive lineman.
Can you talk a little bit about your strengths? Because you mentioned just length, right? How important length is. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that you have it at 6'9", but talk about what you give as far as skill on the football field at that position. What makes Cannon Leonard special and a factor for playing time in the future here with Iowa?
Yeah, my main things are my length and athleticism. You know, as you said, I'm 6'9". I have like a 7-foot wingspan. But also with athleticism, I've been playing basketball since I can remember. I played AAU basketball. I even played with some Iowa basketball commits the past few years. Owen Freeman and Brock Harding on an AAU team. So, I mean, I've always had good footwork and stuff like that. And then also with the small town football, I'm a really physical guy. I played guard the past 2 years, and I just love to hit. That's one of my main things.
Rick wants to know, what is Cannon Leonard listening to when you have your iPods in?
Definitely Morgan Wallen. I'm a big
Morgan. But first of all, I am a converted country guy. All right, so I did not grow up a country guy. Morgan Wallen is huge right now.
Yeah, Yep, I'm pretty sure I have a playlist, and he's like 90% of it.
What's 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5?
I don't know.
But you're a huge Morgan Wallen guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So let's final question for me. Again, congratulations on making it official today. What ultimately sold you on Iowa? They've got you know about the history of developing offensive linemen for the next level. You were a guy that I think it's fair to say maybe was under recruited. I think you would probably say you were under recruited. Why did Iowa? Why Iowa from their perspective? Why did they offer you Cannon Leonard, and why did Cannon Leonard select the Hawks?
I think a main reason they, went in on me was the type of player I am, but also like the type of person I am. I dedicate myself to getting better, and I just feel like it's a really good fit for that program. The like Iowa football term, like I feel even the coaches have said they feel I fit that perfectly. A main reason I chose there is the family feel. I went in and I didn't have any Power 5 offers, and they treated me just like they would treat anybody else. Answering all my questions, telling me everything I needed to know, and then giving me a plan for the future and how they think I could really turn into a great player is probably the main reason I chose to go to Iowa.
And I did see one more question here from Drew in our chat. He wants to know, are you locked in at OT at offensive tackle, or have there been conversations made? Obviously footwork's important at offensive tackle, but there's more involved with being a tight end. Are you locked in as being a tackle?
Yeah, I'm pretty locked in at playing tackle. I mean, I played in my freshman year of high school, and that was probably my worst football season ever. And I mean, this year, senior night, I suited up as tight end, caught a touchdown pass, but I think from now on, it's just offensive line from here.
Well, you are an intriguing guy, Cannon, and obviously you take the classroom seriously. I saw that you got an offer from Yale. So you are obviously serious in the classroom, and that had to have attracted Iowa to you as well. We look forward to seeing you being here in, just about 6 months or so. Cannon Leonard from Iroquois West, community of Gilman, Illinois. Congratulations, Cannon, on signing today, and we look forward to seeing your career pan out over these next 4 to 5 years.
All right, thank you.
Cannon Leonard from Gilman, Illinois. Not from Gilman, Illinois, but from Iroquois West. Guy who not taking shots at anybody. That's on those schools that didn't recruit a kid like Cannon. No other Power 5 offers, folks. And there are several in this class. Leighton Jones, I believe, don't quote me on this, I had it pulled up a little bit ago. I believe just one other Power 5 offer for Leighton Jones, and it was a Purdue team that didn't sound like it really took his recruitment real seriously. So Iowa finds a way to identify guys, finding the needle in a haystack or the diamond in the rough, or whatever analogy you want to use, and developing these guys into potential NFL guys. And yeah, they've done it on defense, but they've also done it with the offensive line. So certainly excited to see Cannon. And just, again, I'm just intrigued by his height and his length. At 6'9", I mean, he said he's a legit 6'8", 6'9". So I'm going to trust him on that. Caden Proctor's 6'8". Now, Caden Proctor obviously looks a different part physically. I mean, he's like, 330? I mean, he's just a big, big guy. But they're going to pack on some pounds on Cannon Leonard. And maybe he's a guy that we're not talking about enough, because he does have traits, specifically with the size, that you just cannot teach, right? So certainly excited to see Cannon get here. Another Midwest kid, Midwest values. He'll fit well. He'll fit in well with the Iowa way. All right, we are trucking along here. An hour into this thing? Appreciate Alex Mota, Cannon Leonard, and certainly Leighton Jones for all being here. And we're going to get to your calls. I know we've got a caller who's been on hold for a while. We're going to get to our caller here in a moment. Let's go ahead and get to our caller while we wait for our next recruit to come in here. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Lomansky, Corey. Good afternoon.
Lomansky, I got about 3 minutes for you, and you're welcome to call in later. I could even put you back on hold. What you got for us?
You're the boss. You do what you want with my call, sir. Really want to thank you for your commitment to Iowa basketball and football, and being on the switch here all day today. I think as a fan base, we forget that I think Rick Neuheisel says 3% get to the NFL, the rest of college football, plans for a career after football. And we should appreciate Kinnick as a recruiter. We should appreciate Wirfs as a recruiter. I know that other former Iowa Hawkeyes are working on recruiting. And I think this is a rebirth, a renewal for next season. I think we got to focus on what you're presenting today as so positive. There could be a lot of solutions to our weaknesses on the football team for people that you're talking to today, and we should focus on that, not focus on tomorrow, not focus on yesterday. Let's just celebrate today for kids that are putting their entire college career in Iowa City.
Truer words have not been spoken, Lomansky, and yeah, that was my one. I said this earlier. That was my one fear with the news yesterday, is that it was going to overshadow some really positive things today. And you know how I feel about a lot of these guys in this class, and just the class as a whole. I talked about the balance, some really good work being done late in the class. The next guy we're going to have on, I think, is the centerpiece of what I was building here at quarterback. So absolutely, Lomansky, and I appreciate you bringing that up as a logical fan, because at times it's, fans get caught up in emotion. Plenty of that going on this week.
And I'm going to end with this, Corey. I'm going to shout out to the signees today. My 4 years at Iowa, interacted with, played intramural basketball against the football team with Chuck Long and Eddie Phillips. Went through that experience in Iowa City, which, farm kid that went to Iowa City. Developed me. You have the greatest friendships of your life in Iowa City. And I think it's once people the athletes get to Iowa City and experience a little more high touch feel and character and feel like family. It doesn't work at Texas A&M to win the transfer portal. It's not working very good at other locations. I kind of admire Dabo Swinney trying to keep a culture in place as far as not building a portal. USC, it's working, but it doesn't work every place. And I'll end that with that. And I might call back again, but enjoy your commitment to Iowa football today.
Thank you, Lomansky. We'll look forward to hearing from you later. Appreciate Lomansky always being a part of the show, one of our regular callers here. And just a reminder for everybody, we're an hour in. Hours flown by. That's great, because I'm here for 5, and then we got Iowa post-game with Coach Gary Close following this show, because we got Iowa basketball at 2:30. Unfortunately, due to the weather here in Iowa, everything had to be pushed up, pulled up, whatever you want to say. So we will continue to plug along here, and I believe we've got our next recruit here on the line, Mr. Marco Lainez III.
How are you, Coach?
You look good in black and gold, Marco.
Thank you. I appreciate it. How you doing?
First of all, I'm great, man. It's great to see you, and I know it's been, with social media, a weird week for this class, and attention kind of gets lost as it relates to the guys who are locked in and going to be a part of the 2023 Swarm. How does it feel, first of all, knowing that you're officially a Hawkeye?
It feels great. I'm very excited. I guess you could feel it brewing throughout the entire week, and I didn't really know. Obviously, it's my first time, so I don't know what the meaning of the day is until I was like, oh yeah, this is legit. And then I finally got to that. I got to the day this morning, and I signed the papers. I was like, oh shit, here we go. So it was very exciting.
For anybody that missed our interview with you months ago, I encourage you to go back and watch that, because I don't want to kind of rehash everything we talked about the first time around, but you're a guy who understands there's a lot on your shoulders in the future. You're going to be competing for this job from day one, but you also understand that you've got a development process. So let's start with that. What has the Hun School. Obviously, Tony Rasiopi, if anybody's not aware, he's your coach and your private coach. What has he meant and what has the Hun School meant to you as a quarterback as you transition to college life?
Both those, obviously him and then the Hun School have been a really important part of my development. Being at Hun with Coach Smith and then Coach Raz, you know, I think I told you, I've never been around such just an amazing football minds. They have both great football minds, and I just shut up and listen. And, you know, I can always pick up something new every time we're at practice, and I can always just learn something from them. Raz has always been my guy. He's like my uncle. You know, he's just always coaching me, always pushing me to be the best version of myself I could be. And, you know, I love him for it. It's been great. It's been a blessing to be, you know, those two guys as quarterbacks. It's awesome. And, you know, just practice is fun with those guys because you think of something, you're like, oh, I would have never thought of that. Like, you know, you just learn something. You pick up stuff on the site, and it's awesome, and it's been great.
Appreciate the super chat here from Erica. Says congrats, Marco. Can't wait to see you in Kinnick. And by the way, the chat here spilling over with congratulations to you. People are excited about your future here, and we can address. I've said this like 3 times today with previous recruits. We can address the elephant in the room. Caden Proctor decommitting, going to Alabama. We're not going to rehash his decision or go inside and try to, you know, needle you as to why you think that happened. But as the quarterback in this class, do you feel somewhat of a responsibility to kind of rally the troops, so to speak? I mean, everybody's locked into their commitment, but kind of step up and say, look, this is still a great class. This is my class. I'm going to lead this group of young guys into Iowa City.
I think we're all motivated individuals, and I think we were very motivated as a group to, you know, we just rallied together. We rallied together as a group of individuals, and it was nice to see. You know, we're all from different parts of the country, and, you know, seeing that was like, all right, you know, this is a group now. Now we ride together, and, you know, I can sense that kind of attitude coming, and it's awesome. I mean, having that attitude of like, you know, we stick together, we ride together. So that's the type of attitude that's formulating in this recruiting class.
Again, some of my questions here, Marco, are assuming people missed our chat before, and I encourage everybody to go back and watch that. But when I watched you on tape initially, you've heard me say this before, the guy that popped out at me, at least in my memory, of someone I would compare you to is maybe Brad Banks, just in the way you play. Now, you recognize you got a lot to do to live up to a guy who was a Heisman finalist. But it's funny, when you and I first met, you said the same thing to me. You said, I actually looked up to Brad Banks and how he played, which was just ironic to me, kind of eerie, because we're on the same page in that. So talk a little bit about your fandom of Brad Banks, and how did you end up growing up an Iowa guy having lived in New Jersey?
Well, so I right after we hopped off that call, I reached out to him. I was like, you know, maybe he, you know, maybe he'll respond. And we actually had a few conversations. And then throughout this year, I talked about, you know, a lot. I showed him a lot of the runs I had, and I was like, hey, I mean, I know I'm no good, but this makes me think of you. And he's like, hell yeah, like that looks good. And so it was cool to see that, like that response from him, because, you know, growing up, obviously he was in college when I was a really young kid, but as I learned the game, and as I became an Iowa fan, I got to see, you know, all the great quarterbacks of the past, Nate, Brad, Tate, all those guys. I just looked up highlights of them, and I was like, wow, this guy, I like the way this guy plays. And I've always been that type of quarterback. I've always been an improviser, playmaker. I think the best part of the game is like when the defense has no idea what the hell you're doing back there, and whether you're in the pocket, outside the pocket, or making plays with your legs. And you know, he showed that, and I see that, and I was like, okay, how can I implement that into my game? And I mean, I'd say more or less in these past few years, I've been ever since I started getting recruited from Iowa, and then I just started to become more invested in it and more invested in the process. And then I understood who Brad was as a player. And I was like, wow, I'd like to be like that.
You are going to be a part of a very unique quarterback room. right? So you know about Cade McNamara transferring in.
Yes, sir.
You know, he is a guy who is seasoned, who has played college football at the highest level there is, winning a Big Ten championship, going to the college football playoff. What do you hope to attain? Maybe learning behind him. I know you're going to be competing for the job, but learning from a guy who's as experienced as Cade McNamara.
I mean, he has the entire resume. If I could just sit around him and learn, sponge up everything he can do, physically and mentally, I think that would help me become the better player that I want to be in the future. Practice is going to be fun, just being around him and just competing every day, pushing each other to be the best version of ourselves. Because when you have someone pushing behind you or to the side of you, it's really helpful. I'm a competitor. That's what I'm from in New Jersey. So, it's going to be fun to learn from him and then also implement, some stuff he sees. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to make me a better football player. Just being a learner, just being a learner of everything I see.
You were recruited in part by Ken O'Keefe, and when Ken O'Keefe stepped down, was there any doubt from you that you were going to stay loyal to your commitment?
There was no doubt I was moving anywhere else. I was like, this is where I want to be. I'm a very loyal person at heart. And, if I said I was coming, I was like, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to my guns.
And for the record, because I'm just remembering this as we're talking, there were teams that called you and tried to pursue you after the fact. I mean, Minnesota's an example. I don't think that's a secret. Minnesota called you and tried to sway you. So you had opportunities to maybe waver, and you chose not to. And I know Iowa fans appreciate someone who's loyal. That's been obvious in the last 24 hours. Your thoughts on Iowa's offense? Obviously, it's been criticized, and I think well-deserved criticism. But what is your thoughts on being able to come in here and help make changes? What positives do you see future of this offense with Marco Lainez potentially quarterbacking the offense?
Well, you first got to look at their scheme. Their scheme is a pro style, and it's the best of both worlds. You get the play action game to complement the run game. You get the run game to complement the pass game. You can't have one or the other. Some schools just throw all the time, but when their throwing game is off the rails, they're one-dimensional, right? Running game as well. If you run all the time and you don't have a pass game, you're not dimensional, and you can't affect an attack and score points. But when you have both, like Iowa does, in a right scheme, in a way they do it effectively, you have the ability to, all right, if we're not doing the run game well, we can rely on the pass game. If the pass game's not there, we can rely on the run game. And you can still find a way to do that. And despite all the struggles they had this year, I mean, they were still, beating teams. And you can see that they had the complement in both of those aspects. So that was helping them. If one wasn't working well the other day, they relied on the other, and they won the game. And that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. If you win, nothing else matters. So that's what I saw. And that was comforting in me in the fact, because when you win, everything else takes care of itself.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, when Iowa was recruiting you, again, Ken O'Keefe was part of that, but Brian Ferentz was a part of that. Kirk was a part of that. What did they tell you they liked about your skill set? What separated you from other prospects they were looking at?
They liked the ability to use my legs. They liked the ability to drive the ball down the field and, the accuracy I had. But they also liked the ability to, being in a pro-style offense, how I was able to manage the game. I think that's a big thing, being the quarterback of Iowa, having to be able to manage the game. And they liked my ability to do that. And, being in a pro-style offense, I was in high school. I love it. It's fun because when you have a good play fake and your linebackers are like this, they're all leaning forward, and now they don't know that someone's running right behind them. I mean, it's a very manipulative offense for quarterbacks. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff to defenders. It's fun. I mean, it's a blast playing in that style of offense, and they like that ability about me. So
that will help dispel the notion from some. I know that there's that narrative out there that Kirk and Brian don't want a guy who's mobile. You are telling us that is something that appealed to them, and that will help quench the fears of some. Hawkeye Corvette Boy wants to know if you can play in the bowl game in a week and a half.
Unfortunately, I can't do that, but I'll be rooting them on.
Absolutely. Did you make it to the Rutgers game this year out in New Jersey?
Yeah, so we finished our game we had a game at 3:30 at Salisbury, and Rutgers was kicking off at 7, thankfully. And we finally finished, and I had a good game. I was tired physically, as we all are after a game. And my dad was like, "All right, get your clothes on, hop in the car." Literally, as we're shaking hands on the field, I could see him like motioning to me. So I literally changed on the side of the field. We hopped in the car, booked it from Pennsylvania all the way to freaking Shai Stadium. Got to see the end of it.
What a blessing to have that game as a night game, because you didn't know it was going to be a night game.
We thought it was going to be a 4 o'clock or a 1 o'clock, and then a 3 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock, and then for some, thank the Lord that they put 7 o'clock there, and then we were like, we can make it, so we did it.
Historically, that an Iowa Rutgers game. No offense to Rutgers, I know that's your home state school. Rutgers, not going to pull a nighttime audience, but because of the changes in how TV and Fox, and I mean that all has to do with why that game was nighttime. So that's awesome. You were able to go out there and be a part of that game. Okay, I do want to ask you this, and I've asked you this before, and there have been reports out there one way or the other, but I want to ask you, go to the source on this. Is enrolling early at all a possibility? Is that completely out of the line of question at this point?
It doesn't look like that's possible.
Okay, so you'll get here in some. And for the record, you were not to rip on anybody, but I think I can safe to say you wanted to enroll early. It's just not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Marco. As you know, I'm a big fan of Marco Lainez, and can't wait to see you. Hopefully, get a chat with you at Iowa Media Day in the fall. And this quarterback's room is going to look a lot different, not just with Cade McNamara, but with Marco Lainez. Appreciate you taking the time. Again, congratulations on signing today. Please congratulate your family for me as well. We look forward to seeing you in the black and gold here next few months.
Cannot wait, Cody. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Marco. All right, 2023 quarterback Marco Lainez. Always a pleasure to speak with Marco. And yes, wise beyond his years. Very mature young guy. And wanted to make sure that we didn't lose power. All right, I think we're doing okay here. We're plugging along again. Time is flying by, and I'm glad it is, because that means we're talking to a lot of our signees today, and every one of them has impressed me. I will say this: we've talked to Leighton Jones on offense. We've talked to Alex Moda on offense. We've talked to all offensive players so far. That's going to change, all right. But if people are concerned about the future of the Iowa offense, that's understandable. But Iowa's got some great personalities, some great young prospects coming, and I know some of these guys are going to have to be developed, but. Marco Lainez is going to have an opportunity. Obviously I find it hard to believe that he's going to start from day one, with Cade McNamara here, and certainly with Marco enrolling in the summer. But given Marco's maturity and his stick-to-itiveness, I would guess, and I didn't ask him this question because it's probably not a fair question to ask, he's going to compete for the starting role. I'm guessing he's okay with that. He's okay with learning for a year behind Cade McNamara. But you better believe if Cade McNamara comes back for 2024, Marco is going to be pushing for that job. And I saw a lot of people in the chat say, he seems mature beyond his years. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's the type of guy personality-wise that, Kirk Ferentz is attracted to from a football standpoint. And he does. He pops off the film from a mobility standpoint. Obviously knows how to run a pro-style offense. He seems to understand that, there's a difference between being, Brian Ferentz used the term backyard football. There's a difference between being freewheeling and kind of not understanding when the appropriate time is to tuck it in and go, when to get skinny, when to lower your pads, when to slide, when to get out of bounds. There's a difference between not knowing those things and knowing those things. I know that sounds kind of cliche and obvious, but Iowa needs a guy who's able to run this offense. As long as it's going to be a pro-style offense, you need a guy who can go in there, understand how to throw from the pocket, but when needed, like a C.J. Beathard, get out of the pocket and move. And Brad Banks is a perfect opportunity. This was a Kirk Ferentz offense in 2002, but Brad Banks is a dual threat guy, played with under Ken O'Keefe as his QB's coach. There's no reason to believe that Marco Lainez can't come in here, and I'm not saying he's going to be a Heisman finalist, but give something, a dynamic to that Iowa offense that it has not had. And it won't have that. I mean, if you were going to ask me right now who's more mobile, Marco Lainez or Cade McNamara, Marco Lainez. I think Cade's got a degree of mobility in there, but there's no question about it to me. Marco gives you probably the most mobility Iowa's had at that position of guys that I think they've had some mobile guys. I mean, they've had guys that haven't played. But as far as guys who I project, I think Marco Lainez is the QB of the future. That's my opinion. He is the most mobile they've had, most mobile guy they've had, I think, since Brad Banks. Maybe Beathard would be a fair comparison. Tate obviously was somewhat mobile. I think Marco's got an extra gear that maybe those guys didn't have. We'll see. He's been doing it at the high school level, so he's got work to do. But really excited to see him get here in the summertime. And again, he wanted to get here early. Unfortunately, given his situation back home with the Hunt School, he was not able to do that. And certainly, I don't think they hold any grudges against anyone. But that was just unfortunate. But he'll get some time to develop with Cade and that quarterback room. It will look a lot different without Alex Padilla, and I'm assuming without Spencer Petras. Of course, we're waiting to see on that. All right, appreciate everybody being here and all the recruits that have taken the time to join the show. And I believe we've got yet another one in the one and only Maddox Borcherding Johnson. Maddox, first of all, everybody bringing the attire, the wardrobe, making it real today. Love the jacket. And first of all, before we get to anything, congratulations on signing. If anybody missed his signing, you can check it out. We broadcasted it live right here at the channel this morning. How does it feel now, Maddox, to be officially signed on with the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Feels great. Really excited to be part of the program.
And this has been a long time coming. You've been locked in for a long time. You were one of the earlier guys. And you've been, as I said to Leighton Jones, as I said to Alex Moda, you've been one of those guys that's been a part of recruiting other players. All right. I know you guys have a big group chat, and I'm sure other prospects get brought up. What's it been like to kind of be a recruiter, kind of be a coach throughout the last couple of years?
Kind of interesting, just getting to know a whole bunch of guys that you've never met, but just talking to people across the state, seeing how they feel about the process that you both went through and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And the city of Norwalk, I should say the school district of Norwalk, it's I don't think of Norwalk as being a real rich sports-wise community, but boy, in recent time, there has been some really great stories out of that community. Can you talk about, you had a couple signees there with you today. And of course, Iowa recently, an offensive lineman that ended up at Iowa and is at Iowa now. Just talk about the community of Norwalk and what growing up there and playing for Norwalk has meant to you and done for you as a football player.
We're a really close community, and we've been with each other throughout our whole lives. And just seeing all these guys that you were competing with as like a little pee-wee kid, to seeing how they've grown and stuff, it's just been amazing. All these guys just push you through everything, and they're mostly multi-sport athletes. So you got a football buddy that's pushing you, and then you go straight into wrestling, and he's pushing you in wrestling. And it's just great to have kind of this competitive community that we live in.
Do you have a nickname?
Mad Dog.
Mad. It's funny. Maybe Ryan knows this, and we didn't. He wanted to know, is your nickname Mad Dog? So he got it right. That's great. So I got to ask you this: do you stay in touch with Tyler Indris?
No.
Okay,
he was a senior before I was in high school, so I never really got to know him.
Okay. What's it been like growing up in Norwalk? What's the town like? I mean, obviously, I know you told me on your last interview, your mom has been a big part of just forming you into who you are today. But the community obviously has an impact on that as well. What has the Norwalk community meant to you?
They're very supportive. They always are looking out, reaching out to see how you're doing and stuff like that. And they don't always just care about the sports. They care about who you are as a person. They always just like to see you doing the right things and always making sure that your home life and stuff like that's good. So it's just a really close community, and we all get along and stuff like that.
If anybody missed the interview on this channel with Maddox months ago, certainly check that out. enjoyed talking to you then and enjoying it now. I want to know about your skill set. Remind everybody here who hasn't been able to watch you in person, maybe hasn't studied your tape. What do you bring at D tackle that Kelvin Bell liked and that Phil Parker liked?
I'm an explosive guy and a wrestler, so I'm kind of flexible. I'm not stiff and sturdy, and I'm quite quick for how big I am. And I'm just a powerful guy that can really hold down the middle of the field, the center and stuff like that, because lots of the line comes from who's winning that battle up front, and I feel like he thinks I can win that battle more often than not.
Brian says, do you prefer hitting or do you prefer pass rushing? That you have a preference as far as?
I honestly prefer the run blocking, like being a run rushing kind of like that. I like getting those skirmishes where you kind of block up the passages for the running back. Pass rushing can be kind of sticky sometimes when you got two guys double teaming you, because I'm more in the middle of the nose and stuff, so it's kind of hard for me to get opened up to get to that quarterback. On the other hand, of stopping the run up the middle or something like that.
And is there a guy in particular that you have emulated? I know Davion Nixon was a guy you mentioned to me in our last interview that you really liked watching growing up. But is there somebody on the current roster? I mean, Noah Shannon had a great year.
Yeah, that's who I would probably say.
Fantastic year. Anybody else, Maddox?
I like YA. I really like watching him play. He's an aggressive guy. He's kind of mean, too, and I like how competitive he is in that middle and those nice pass deflections he gets and stuff like that. He's a chippy guy, and it's just – but, like, also he was my he was kind of like my guy that was walking around during my official visit, and he's kind of a down-to-earth guy, too. So it's just kind of nice to see how he's such a nice person when you really talk to him, but on the football field, he's just a monster. So I kind of really like that dynamic.
When I talked to him last August, he seemed kind of grumpy off the field. He's not like that off the field.
My official visit, we're at his house playing Katana board game, and he's just a nice guy. Yeah. He has a cute little dog. But then when I watch him play, he's just he's a bully, I feel like. So it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, you can't teach that size. And I know he got hurt at some point this year, but wrestling, you are a avid wrestler.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, we've talked about some of the prospects, and Tyler Linderbaum's one that always gets brought up, but Tristan Wirfs is around. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, Iowa just targets guys who have wrestling backgrounds, and for good reason. What does your wrestling your wrestling success, I should say, how does that translate over to the football field as a D lineman?
Gets me a lot flexible. I see a lot of kids that play D line, but they're kind of stiff and they can't really move. It gave me a lot of mobility, and also keeps my hips loose and stuff like that, so I can bend and fold while I'm deep in there and win those leverage battles. Lots of leverage in wrestling, mostly at heavyweight, where you got these big guys trying to throw you. Leverage always wins, and that's kind of what Kelvin Bell preaches too on the D line. Leverage always wins, so kind of helps me with my leverage and stuff like that.
One thing that really impressed me, talking to different signees, Maddox, and recruits throughout the last year or two, one thing that always stands out is whenever a player makes a comment about a specific coach, it just stays with me. And we had, was it Leighton? I think it was Leighton here a few minutes ago. Maybe it was Cannon. One of our offensive linemen we just talked about George Barnett and how he's not a screamer or a yeller. He's just a down-to-earth guy. You made a comment about defensive line coach Kelvin Bell that stood out to me. You said he made you feel like kind of like his son. I mean, he's just a down-to-earth guy. He's not just about football. He's a guy who I could assume walk up to you and put his arm around you. Talk about Kelvin Bell as a coach and as a person. What has impressed you about him?
He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just tells you straight how it is. He was telling me about how he only has 8 people in his room on a scholarship, and if you wait around trying to stack up offers and not go into the place you like, you're just wasting your time. Because, I mean, if a couple guys commit, then you can lose your spot on the team and he can't take you. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That was during a junior day. So instead of just kind of like trying to promote why you should play at Iowa, he's just telling me straight up like how football is. Like, you got to commit and how the recruitment game goes. And I just love all the things he's taught me so far.
for the record, I mean, I have heard nothing but good things from any of the D-line prospect. We're talking Aaron Graves. Remember having a conversation with him about Kelvin, Kate Crawford last year. He has said nothing but good things. So Iowa's got a good one in Kelvin Bell. I can be confident in saying that. Ryan wants to know which rivalry game you're looking forward to playing in the most. Iowa State did recruit you, but I would guess you would claim that you were under recruited. Is that fair to say? I mean, that's being confident. You're a confident guy. Would you say you were under recruited?
Yeah, a little bit.
So is there a rivalry in particular? I know if you go to 247 Sports, 247 Sports says Iowa and Iowa State were the two schools that recruited and offered you. But is there a specific rivalry that you look forward to playing in?
Nebraska. Hate Nebraska.
Hate. That's a strong hate.
Hate them.
Why?
I don't know. It's just I never really liked the vibe. I remember I took a visit there one time, and it just kind of they had weird coaches and stuff like that. And I feel like mean. They're not like football mean. They're just mean in general. And I just kind of feel like it'd be nice to just go out there and pop on one of these times.
So just for the record, we're not going to name names, but you were recruited during the previous coaching tenure. That's accurate, right?
Yeah.
Obviously not the head coach now, Matt. Previous, but we all know what group we're talking about.
Yeah.
Great answer. By the way, everybody blowing up the chat, love that answer. So everybody wants to know about your hate for Nebraska. So Tyler or Dennis says you could see you at 295. What's your current weight? Where are you at right now?
280.
And do you see yourself getting in the 300 range, or is that?
Yeah, I think I'll get bigger, put on some more mass and stuff like that. So I'm a harder guy to move when I'm in the D tackle position.
You like to eat?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds like that's one thing that Iowa, you don't got to worry about when you get to Iowa. They're going to feed you.
No, I went there for my official visit, put on 10 pounds after that weekend.
You put on 10 pounds in one visit?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was 290 when I left that place. I had to cut back down to make it to 285 for wrestling.
Okay. That might be the best quote of the day so far, Maddox. So I appreciate you sharing that. Tyler wants to know, who do you look forward to learning from the most? You mentioned YA Black, who, by the way, is back, I believe. So YA, of course, we're waiting to hear on Noah Shannon. I don't know what his decision is, but is there anybody else that you look forward to coming in here? Obviously, Logan Lee's an experienced guy.
Yeah.
Anybody in particular that you look forward to learning from, or maybe a coach?
Probably, Bell. I feel like there's so much he could teach me. And then I hope Noah Shannon. I feel like he's super smart, and he's been there a long time. And there's probably things that he could tell me about certain teams we play, or just the overall basics that I can learn to help pick them up faster and stuff like that, or what weaknesses he what things he struggled with while developing into the D tackle he became and stuff like that I can learn at a young age.
First of all, a couple people in the chat say you look like you kind of resemble Tristan Wirfs, so that's not a bad guy to be compared to.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
Mm-hmm. I remember when I committed to Iowa, people on my Twitter were saying I'm Tristan Wirfs 2.0. Stuff like that.
And for the record, the reason I bring up Noah Shannon, the way he plays, and he had a great year. Physically, though, you guys are similar from a physical standpoint, right? I mean, Noah Shannon's obviously a little bit bigger. He's been in the Iowa program for several years, but is that fair to say? I mean, I'm assuming you've met Noah in person.
Yeah.
You guys are probably in the same realm as far as size.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're excited to see you here again. Norwalk defensive tackle Maddox, Borcherding, Johnson. We have listed here 6'3", 270, but you just got done saying you're closer to what, 285?
Yeah, I'm about 280 though.
285, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on your signing this morning. I know it's a long day. It's an exciting day. It's a day you'll always remember.
Yeah.
And, just want to reestablish, you are getting to Iowa City in the summer, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in the summer and chatting with you at Media Day and seeing you competing for playing time as part of that Kelvin Bell, Phil Parker defense. Maddox, appreciate you being here. And
thank you.
We look forward to seeing you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, Maddox Borcherding Johnson, Iowa. Well, now, yeah, officially, Iowa Hawkeye defensive tackle Maddox Borcherding Johnson. Great young man. And again, if you missed his signing, you can go back and watch that live. That happened early this morning on the channel here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Again, he's an intriguing guy who nobody really talks about. I hate to say that, but he's been signed on forever, right? He's been a part of this class for so long. Oftentimes you start to forget guys like this. I mean, Aaron Graves is a perfect example. He was committed to last year's class. He was committed like a sophomore in high school. And, I think very well, obviously the hype was around a guy like Xavier Wampa who committed late, but a guy like Aaron Graves could end up being the prize of that class. And, a guy like Maddox is a hard worker, comes from humble roots. He has got an opportunity to make a big impact at Iowa. Great position coach. Again, I mean that genuinely. I have heard nothing but good things from anybody and everybody who has anything to say about Kelvin Bell. All right. Kelvin Bell is a guy who I know is very well respected around this program, very skilled, not only as a position coach, but as a recruiter. And certainly Maddox has attested to that as well. All right, folks, we are an hour and a half in. Appreciate everybody being here. We got about 270 people on the line right now. And again, if you want to join the show, we've got about a 10-minute window here, I believe, before our next prospect. So we've got a window here if you want to call in. We have nobody on hold right now. The line is open. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. All right. Line is open, 515-635-1601, or you can join by means of the link in the description below. I'll also throw this link up in the live chat. Join by video, or you can join on StreamYard by audio, so you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. But I'll throw that up in the live chat now. Click on that link to join the show, share your thoughts on Iowa's class. Erica wants to know, is Coach P joining the show today? I did not set up an appointment with Coach Patterson. I can certainly shoot him a text, but he is I think he's prepping for the bowl game and analytics with Iowa, Kentucky, and we look forward to previewing that game here in the coming days, as well as we're 10 days out now from Iowa's Nashville trip. Obviously less than that when they go to Nashville, but 10 days away from their game against the Kentucky Wildcats, second straight year of playing Kentucky down in Nashville. Hair Trigger, appreciate this. Again, if you are enjoying the content here so far, please consider sharing the show out on social media. It's very simple. Hit the little share button below this stream. Share it to your preferred podcast platform. Also, if you want to become a premium subscriber, click the join button next to the channel name here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you may not see that button. You may have to sign in on a desktop or at least on your browser. You can join as a premium subscriber. It's another way you show support for the channel, and periodically you'll get some early releases on some videos. We're working on getting a discount for our merchandise, which, by the way, is live. From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch is live. You can check that out. There's a link in our description for From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch. In fact, as I say that, I don't make sure that anybody that joins fresh here can see that merchandise. You're probably not seeing the merch. Again, it's in the description if you click on that link. But I should throw some merch up here below the stream so that people can see that. From sweatshirts to T-shirts to coffee mugs, hats, whatever the case may be. We've got great merchandise and more coming, more designs coming. So certainly consider supporting the channel by getting your From the Hawkeye of the Storm merchandise. All right. We've got Iowa basketball getting underway here in just a moment. So we'll keep our tabs on that. I will give you an update here on the women. The women played a Dartmouth team today that was 2-10. So I'm certainly not I'm guessing that the women have not struggled with Dartmouth, and I can give you an update here in a second. They are currently leading. No, they've won. So that game is over. So the score is 92-54. The Hawkeye women defeating Dartmouth easily, and congratulations to them. And now they'll have about a week off. They'll have over a week off as they await their next game. So let's get to our next caller who's on hold. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, this is Tony the Tiger. I'm just able to join you on the audio version today.
Oh man,
so
this is unique. You're not able to show up. You're not able to show off the merchandise on the audio version, Tony. What's going on?
I'll be able to do that later for the basketball game. I was watching that. It's a blowout already. It's 13-4. This shouldn't be any problem. But I wanted to call you because you were mentioning, and I kind of joined midway through the football season, about how you had the games, the interviews of the recruits in the past. Is there any way you could link those to this video so some of us could see them?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I can do that. There's also, if you go on the channel, you can hit playlists and find the Brad's Branded Thoughts playlist, and then of course the recruiting playlist, and those interviews are on both of those playlists. But yes, I can definitely add those to the description here, and I might even throw those up in the chat. I don't want to drive people away now. People can continue to watch. That's great, but those are great. I mean, like the interviews with Maddox and Marco and Leighton, great stuff. And we have just 10 to 15 minutes tops to chat with them this afternoon. They took some of them 20 to 30 minutes or better to chat with us way back when. So no, I appreciate you bringing that out.
Yeah, and I didn't want to make anyone stop watching this because I'll keep it on this channel throughout the whole day. But I just wanted to thank you for doing this, and hopefully you have a good day, and we'll hopefully talk after the basketball game.
Sounds good, Tony. Thanks for the call, sir.
Yep.
All right. The phone line is open, and I know I've got a couple questions here in the chat that I need to get back to regarding the class and my thoughts on this class. Get to that in a second here. So I didn't want to miss the super chat from Michael. Michael, thank you for this. Again, did not pass over this, had this saved, wanted to acknowledge it when we had a free moment. Thank you for being here, Michael. He says, thanks for the content. Again, thank you for the super chat, Michael. And again, I'm here until 5 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, we're transitioning over to our men's basketball post-game show, where we'll be talking with Coach Gary Close. So again, thank you to Michael for being part of this. And I do want to give a big shout out to Iowa Floor Covering and their Tough Core Click Together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, available at $269 per foot with self-installation. Check their stuff out, folks. IFC, and they're supporting this channel. That's the main thing. They are good people, and they're great at what they do. They will get the right flooring for the right price to you. They're a privately owned company, local company right in the heart of Central Iowa, down in Bondurant. Great rate on this this waterproof vinyl flooring. Check out their stuff at iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. And again, consider supporting our sponsors, especially Iowa Floor Covering today, because they are sponsoring the coverage. And I've seen several people express appreciation for the coverage. People like Iowa Floor Covering, certainly you can credit them for helping for shows like this to happen. Wilbur wants to know, do you see any pass catchers or even OWs coming in that could follow a Reganey type path? Unheralded recruits, but turn into day one or two NFL draft picks by the time they leave. Well, I don't know that Reganey's an NFL draft pick, Wilbur. I'm not saying he doesn't have a shot. I think he may come back next year, it sounds like. Nothing official from Nico as it relates to another year. But I don't know of anybody offhand. Caden Weegen is a guy who came in from the JUCO ranks last year as a walk-on. I thought maybe he'd mix in with punt return, kick return stuff this year. Never really happened. So it's hard for me. I'm not as familiar with Iowa's walk-on group this year. Jordan Combs, a guy who came in, he was an Iowa Central guy, grew up, I believe he went to high school in Ankeny. He's back in the transfer portal. He was a walk-on guy who maybe you could have seen making an impact. Alec Wick right now is on the depth chart. So Wilbur, I guess the obvious, maybe you don't want to go that dark as far as dark horse, but Alec Wick is a guy who's got an opportunity to be a guy who plays next year. And whether you like that or not, I'm sure ideally you want guys who are on scholarship. But look, how many walk-ons have found their way into various positions across this program? I mean, look at Nick Easley. I believe he was a walk-on when he got here. I believe he turned into a pretty darn good receiver, right? By the time he left, he was a Newton guy. So good question. Maybe Weejan makes a jump. He has a history of being a good special teams guy, Wilbur. So maybe he makes a jump and makes an impact for Iowa. Great question. Appreciate the super chat here from Brian. Great show. Thank you, Brian. And thank you for being here. The super chat is much appreciated, but you just being here is important and special. So thank you for that. I know it's a work day for many. The snow, the weather is coming. I believe we've got a blizzard warning in effect for later. So batten down the hatchets. I believe last year at this time during signing day, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we have a derecho? I'm pretty sure we had a derecho. So, for some reason, signing day is traditionally a bad weather day here in Iowa. Joshua wants to know how I'm feeling about Labus starting in the bowl game. I'm fine with it because this might be our only chance to get a look at him. And it was obvious that Iowa had no intentions. Brian and Kirk had no aspirations to play a guy like Joey Labus as long as there were more experienced guys like Petrus and Padilla ahead of him on the roster. We know neither of those guys set the world on fire. And it would have been nice to see Labus, even with a package of 5 or 6 plays, have an opportunity to see what he can do, and just never really given the opportunity. But he'll get the opportunity in the bowl game. These two teams are not at full strength, especially on offense. But it will be interesting to see how Joey plays. Will we see Carson May at all? Will we see Deuce Hogan at all at Kentucky? That would be intriguing as well. And yes, I reiterate what Riley says here. Very excited to watch the bowl game with different players. And yes, the portal and recruiting keeps you on your toes. No question about it. All right. I believe we've got Iowa signee now, Zach Lutmer, on the line. Zach, are you with us?
Yep, I'm right here.
Zach, appreciate you taking the time today to talk about your big day. First of all, congratulations. I know this day has been a long time coming. How does it feel to finally officially be a part of this program?
Yeah, it definitely feels it's a really good feeling. I think joining a legacy like that Iowa has is something you always want to do, and I've dreamed of this moment time my whole life, and to do it is just ecstatic.
Now, you are a guy who, again, has been locked in for quite some time. I've said to a couple other guys here today that some of you early commits had the opportunity to kind of be like coaches, kind of be like recruiters, and help try to bring other guys on. What's that been like to kind of play the role of a recruiter throughout this process?
Yeah, I think recruiting some guys around my area is pretty fun. I've been trying to get some more people, and some have come along the way and joined us, and it's just really fun to see them grow and see them fall in love with the coaches and the same program that I do.
Tell us about Central Lyon.
Oh yeah, Central Lyon is kind of a storied program. CLGLR football is kind of Lyon County football is something that 2A always says makes the finals. It's either between us and West Lyon, and Central Lyon is a really good close family and a brotherhood, as some would say.
I certainly, I'll be the first to admit I've grown up in Iowa. I've never been to Rock Rapids. So tell me everything I need to know about Rock Rapids. What's it been like for you growing up there?
Yeah, it's a pretty small town. I think it's like 3,000 people or so. So I think everyone knows each other. Everyone comes out and supports at pretty much every event. We got a few restaurants here, small restaurants, some family-owned businesses from here, and just everyone supporting each other, the businesses, the teams, whether it's football, basketball, any sport. But yeah, it's a small town and really good people up here. You
are listed, according to 247, as an athlete. you know, you're a guy at, I believe, is it accurate to say you're about 6'1", 175? Is that accurate? 190?
Oh, the weight's a little off. I'm 195, but yeah.
Okay.
6'1's an accurate height.
I was thinking I saw one that was closer to 175 or 180, and I thought that was probably doing you a disservice. So how versatile are you? I mean, as an athlete, does Iowa have something in store for you? Do you have an idea where you're playing? I mean, obviously, I would guess you're going to be a DB, but can you talk a little bit about your future?
Yeah, I think they kind of said any DB spot, like corner, whether it's cash, safety, any of those type of things. But yeah, they're just gonna kind of work with me, and when I get up there, they're gonna see what I'm best at, and that's where they're gonna put me.
And your skill set, talk a little bit about, for people who haven't gotten a chance to go up and watch Central Lyon football, talk about your skill set, Zach. What do you bring to Phil Parker's backfield? Obviously, people have trust, and for good reason. They have trust in Phil Parker being able to identify guys like you who, according to 247, am I right in saying there were no other Power 5 offers on the table? Is that correct?
No, there weren't.
Oh, there were. Okay, tell us about your Power 5 offers first of all.
No, there weren't. There weren't any.
Okay, all right. So I actually view that as kind of as weird as it sounds, almost like a positive thing, because you have more confidence. I think I've got even more confidence in Phil Parker going after a guy like yourself, given the fact that he's identifying a diamond in the rough, so to speak. Talk about your skill set and what Iowa saw in you.
Yeah, I think you know, my defensive game was I think behind a little bit, as some would say, just because I play quarterback and I run probably like 30 times a game. So I'm not giving all the effort into defense. But no, I think playing quarterback, my vision is probably the biggest thing that I'm gaining on the defense side of the ball, because when I see a quarterback, whether he's in the pocket or rolling out, and I kind of can just know where he's going to throw it. It's kind of just an instinct, just knowing where he's going to look. And, you know, the second biggest thing I think I have is really good speed and agility once I see things. I break pretty fast on the ball. And this year I kind of developed into a better tackler as I wasn't as good in years past. But this year, since I gained up like 10 pounds since last year, now I'm 195. So I think me gaining that weight is gave me a lot of confidence in hitting people, and I laid some sticks this year, which is a lot more fun than just doing a normal tackle. But yeah, I think those are the biggest things that I bring to the table.
Is there a guy, Zach, that you've watched at Iowa that you'd like to emulate? I mean, for me, growing up, I watched Tyler Sash. I know you would have been pretty young when Tyler was here, but is there somebody in particular that a particular DB that played at Iowa that you looked up to?
I think I looked up to Brandon Snyder growing up. I don't know if you know him. He grew up about 10 minutes from where I'm at, and he was actually my AAU basketball coach.
Okay.
So he kind of helped the recruiting process along. But yeah, I watched him. You know, he was a preferred walk-on, but he worked his way up. He was like Northwest Iowa battle tested. You know, he's gonna come in there and work extremely hard and not let anybody else work harder than him. And I think that's the mindset that I'll bring is nobody's gonna outwork me. I'm gonna work as hard as possible every day and just give it all I got.
Absolutely. And I'm just curious, did he in any way try to sway you to South Dakota State? I know South Dakota State did make a push for your services.
Yeah, no, I don't think he kind of pushed me that way. I think he wanted me to go to Iowa.
Okay.
But yeah, SDSU is a really good program, and yeah, just they were kind of all on board for me, and you know, I was really questioning going to South Dakota State because it's a really good program. Obviously, they're in the FCS championship in a few weeks here, but yeah, definitely tried to push me towards Iowa, I would say.
Last question from me, Zach, and this is actually a question from one of our listeners. We just had Maddox Borcherding Johnson on the show here a few minutes ago, and he didn't hold back in his disdain for Nebraska. Joshua in our chat wants to know, how do you feel about Nebraska, or is there a particular rival that you look forward to matching up against once you get to Iowa City?
I think the biggest rivalry I have, I grew up a Minnesota fan, and that's the rivalry I'm going to go with, because they didn't recruit me as much, but after I got the Iowa offer, they tried to come in and sway me to pick them. But that's kind of the biggest rivalry I'm going to have, going there, and the chip on my shoulder playing them, and just, yeah, growing up a Minnesota fan, I wanted to go there, but them not recruiting me is something that I'll always remember.
I'm just curious, what caused you to grow up a Minnesota fan? Is it just your proximity to the border? What caused that?
Yeah, my dad, he actually grew up in Minnesota, so I
Okay.
was kind of just born one. But yeah, we're like 10 minutes from Minnesota, so.
Well, Zach, just to clarify, I want to make sure I'm right on this. You are enrolling in the summer, correct?
Yeah, I'm enrolling in the summer, yep.
Well, Zach, again, congratulations. Big day for you, big day for your family, big day for your community. Thank you for taking the time here this afternoon to call into the show. We look forward to seeing you in Iowa City here this next summer.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Zach Lutmer, Iowa athlete, DB. I mean, he's made it very clear his future is in Phil Parker's room. That's a good sign, right? I mean, here's another guy who kind of like Tegan Davis in a way. Tegan Davis, the kid that just committed here, a week or two ago, about a week ago, I guess, less than that, a few days ago. No other offers. I mean, Zach's got some offers, and so did Tegan. Tegan was committed to East Carolina. Same with Zach. No other, not only Power 5, he didn't have any other FBS offers according to 247 Sports. Now, he did make known that Minnesota kind of swooped in afterwards. And you see that with schools. These schools that tried to swoop in and sway a kid just because another school has offered and gained a commitment. It's kind of a cheap way to recruit. Not saying Iowa has never done that, but you have confidence in what Phil Parker identified early. They've had Zach Lutmer locked in here for a while, and I'm certainly nothing against Tegan Davis. I think Tegan Davis has reason to believe he will end up being a really good DB for Phil Parker as well. But Zach has been here a long time. They identified him early, wasted no time in offering, and he wasted no time in committing and signing today. So congratulations to Zach Lutmer. And again, thank you, Zach, for being a part of the show. Just making a note here as we continue here in our with our show. And we did miss a call here. I want to make sure that we did not miss a call from any of our recruits. Let me just make sure here that we're still on with our next recruit. All right, I believe we're good here. So again, the phone line is back open. Let's give everybody an update here on Iowa Eastern Illinois men's basketball. Well, here's a surprise. Iowa leading by just 7 with 7 minutes to go. 30-23. The Hawkeyes up 7 with 7 minutes to go in the game. Maybe, again, I haven't been paying attention, but maybe a bit of sleepwalking here on a snowy, cold Wednesday afternoon, because this Eastern Illinois team is not a good basketball team. That's to say the least. They're 3-9. They were one of the worst teams in the country last year in Division I. I mean, that's how bad they were last year. So we'll see what happens. All right, couple comments here. Tony wanted to know earlier, how many cups of coffee have you had today? I know you were stoked about today. It's going to be a long day, so just wondered how many cups you've had so far. I've only had 2, so I'm feeling okay right now. We'll see once we hit the 5 o'clock hour, because then we're going to be jumping to our post game with Coach Close. We'll see how I'm doing then, Tony. Appreciate the question. All right, let's get to our next caller. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Trent. How are you, sir?
This is Trent?
Yes, sir.
I'm good, Trent. How are you?
Good. I'm calling from Alabama. So,
okay.
Minus the, I'm still a Hawkeye fan. I was raised in Davenport, Iowa, in the Quad Cities. Lived there for a long time. But I enjoy your show. I just love listening to you and Coach Patterson and what you all do. One thing that sticks out this recruiting class, which I think is could be one of a really strong recruiting class, is just it seems like we always get the 3 stars, and the trend is always developing into 5 stars, and that's what our coaching staff consistently has done. But one thing that always stands out to me especially when these kids are interviewed, is the intelligence of them. They just seem like they just got it. They just know what they're doing. And I think that's kind of a hidden aspect when recruiting, because, you go after the 5 stars and maybe they have all the talent on paper, 247 ranking them 5 or whatever. But I think some schools don't look at the intangibles. And I think Iowa always has a way of doing that and looking at not only their talent level, but also, their skill sets, and then also their mindset and their positivity. And I think that's an important thing.
Absolutely. I am, and I'll say this, talk to a number of recruits in the show, and I enjoy each and every one of those interviews. Guys like Marco Linez and Maddox Borcherding Johnson. I mean, those guys, and I'm nothing against the other guys. You're right. I mean, Iowa's identifying not only guys who have upside on the football field, but guys who are just smart individuals who understand what it means to be a student athlete, which is a concept that's, I think, forgotten in this day and age of college football. You're absolutely right. And I bring up Marco Linez specifically, and I've talked about it in the past, but to have your potential quarterback of the future, be that locked in and that mature beyond his years, I think is a valid point. And I know there's some question now with the decommitment of Caden Proctor about maybe the quality of the class. I think the class is very balanced. And I'm with you. I think the class as a whole is really good. And there's going to be guys like maybe an Aiden Hall or a Zach Lutmer that nobody is talking about, but they've got great heads on their shoulders. And there's no reason to think that they won't develop into, another more great athletes that have run through this program. And Iowa's had plenty under Kirk.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way as you. And it seems like it's not only this year's class, though, Corey. It seems like you look back through our recruiting classes, it seems like these kids, just come out of nowhere. And, and it just goes to show our coaching staff what they do to go find these kids. And they're probably not they're not getting offers from other schools, but we're able to find those quote unquote diamonds in the rough, and we're able to develop them. And that's the thing about signing day, and it, gets blown up out of proportion. Well, this school didn't do so hot, or this school did. Well, Iowa's always pretty consistent in their recruiting and who they get and the type of player that they want on their program.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And it is intriguing. I am intrigued. I know some people would view it as a bad thing because, we read too much into ratings and whatnot. I'm intrigued by the kids that, like Zach Lutmer, who we just got off the phone with, who, has programs like Minnesota calling him, but they don't call him until after Iowa identifies him and offers and gets a commitment. That's a good sign, right?
That's a great, absolutely.
To those,
and the fact that he wants them as a rival, I think that's great too.
Yeah, it's a testament to those small town communities and a testament to Phil Parker's ability to evaluate character and evaluate potential on that side of the ball.
I definitely agree. Well, I'll get off the phone. I just wanted to, I've been watching your show, all football season, and just, I love what you guys do. And I love when Coach Patterson's on, and just wish you all a happy Merry Christmas, and thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Trent. Appreciate the call, sir. Appreciate Trent being a part of our show this evening or this afternoon as we plug along here into hour 3. And our new caller just hung up. So we'll have to get back to whoever that was. If they want to call back, you're welcome to do that. All right. Let's see if we got our caller back on the line. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Doug from Tucson.
Hey, Doug from Tucson. How are you?
I'm good. I guess the main thing I'm calling about is the last post show that Kirk Ferentz gave made me think that there's no way he's going to fire Brian.
Okay.
And
based on, I'm just curious. Before you go on, I just want to be curious why. What was the? I'm not disagreeing with you, but was it what about his comments during that presser made you believe that?
Well, he said that he was very pleased with all his staff, and that he thought they all did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, at some point there are things. I'm not saying that he's parting ways with Brian or they don't have a plan for his exit. I don't necessarily believe that to be true either. But at times, coaches are going to say what they have to say in the moment to the media to save face. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I know what you're saying, though.
I've always been a big Kirk Ferentz fan, but this last year I've kind of turned totally around, and I think he has to go because, and I think in one of your shows you said that he got a bonus for winning 7 games.
I believe that's the case. That's the last time I read any information on his contract. That was a clause in his contract that got him a bonus for winning 7. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, and that means that Iowa is happy just being mediocre. I mean,
well,
when will we ever take the next step forward? Forward.
And you know what? That's an administrative. If we're going with that argument, and I'm certainly not arguing it. That is an issue from the top down. That's a much bigger issue than Kirk Ferentz, because Iowa agreed to a contract that stipulates a bonus at 7 wins. That's an Iowa problem. That's not even a Kirk Ferentz problem.
Yeah, but at the same time, Kirk will say that, if we won 7 games, that, hey, we won 7 games. What if, I don't know. I know he doesn't like the portal. He doesn't like any change. He's just not staying up with the game. It's passing him by, and I think it's hurting Iowa football.
Well, you're not the only one who feels that way. I don't know that you're. I think 2 to 3 years ago, if you called into this show and said that, I think you would have been absolutely 100% in the minority. I don't know that you are anymore. I think the crowd of naysayers is getting larger, and that's. I mean, Kirk has done nothing as it relates to this offense and evolving this offense and hiring offensive minds these last 2 years, anything to offset that. And so until Iowa proves it on offense, there are going to be more and more people like you who doubt that he can get it done here. Anything more than winning 7 to 9 games every year.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering, is he thinking because he got Cade and that tied in that that should give Brian one more year to see what he can do with. I thought that too, but then he was so high on Spencer. I don't know, why would he think that.
Well, I don't know that
quarterback would change anything.
Yeah, I don't know that he was as high on Spencer. I don't know that Iowa was as high on Spencer Petras as maybe people thought they were, because that was the perception they had to give off. I just think that quarterback room, from the Iowa coaches' perspectives, was so weak. Spencer Petras was the best they had, in their opinions. So I again, reading between the lines, they didn't have a lot of confidence in any of those guys. That's why I was so frustrated with their refusal to go to the transfer portal at that position last cycle, because if there was any time to go to the portal at quarterback, it would have been last year. And I know they made contact with at least one guy. Well, I think just one guy, but they should have made a push last year. So I don't know that they had a great level of confidence with Spencer. I just think he's the best they had, or at least in their opinion, he was the best they had. And I can see where you're coming from. I said the same thing when Iowa made a push for Cade. And obviously they have to go to the portal strong this year because they've lost enough guys, but especially the Cade McNamara thing, you wonder, I'm not saying this is the case, but you do wonder, is this Kirk's way of trying to buy Brian time? That's a fair question to have at this point.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was wanting to say is, I thought I read somewhere that in the, what do they call it, the NIL or whatever they give money, that a third string player will get the same amount of money as anyone on the first string, and same goes for women's basketball or soccer. They're just spreading it out among everybody instead of, but the way it sounded lately that they gave Cade McNamara money, so I don't know which is true anymore.
I believe there, again, I'm no expert on NIL, and I'd be happy to have Brad Heinrichs, who's kind of the head guy of the Swarm Collective, on here. But I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe there are incentives, if you will, as part of this collective. So yes, everybody has a set amount, but then there are incentives for certain people, I believe. Again, I'm no expert on how that works either, but Cade McNamara is not going to be making the same as, AJ Lawson. I mean, that he came here with reason to believe that he's going to make money. So
yeah,
more money than he would other places. So NIL was a big part of Cade. It sounds like it was a big part of why Cade's coming here. So no, you're right. There are different incentives. I was told on pretty darn good authority that Caden Proctor, who had notified Iowa coaches and players on Sunday that he was going to be decommitting. I was told on Sunday that some of the people on Iowa's side were trying to filter some cash down, some extra cash toward Caden Proctor in hopes that he would change his mind. So those things are happening. Don't let that narrative of everybody makes the same fool you. Those things are happening. There are extra incentives for certain recruits, certain guys out of the portal and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I sure appreciate your show. I mean, it's great. I really enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, and you're welcome to call anytime, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all the phone calls here, and always good to hear from our folks in other states. We heard Tucson. I saw somebody earlier. We missed the call from. I saw somebody left a message from Tucson, I believe, or excuse me, we just talked to our caller from Tucson. I believe somebody left a message from San Diego County. So good to see our callers across the country. All right, thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
John.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm from Chicago, and I just want to get Corey's thoughts on the two DBs that Iowa signed that are two Chicago kids, Nestor and Tate.
Well, I'll be frank. I don't know as much about John just because I haven't seen as much tape as I have of Khalil. I defer to Phil Parker on both of those guys. Obviously, I've talked about his ability to evaluate. I think you would agree. I'm assuming you're a Hawkeye fan. Phil Parker is the best in the business as it relates to evaluating defensive back talent. He's been that way since he started here back in 9 with Kirk. So both of those. It's been a while since I even looked at John Nestor on tape. Khalil Tate, committed back in the summer. I know chose Iowa over Wisconsin. Khalil maybe he's got an extra gear as it relates to athleticism. Both guys are sound. Phil targets guys who are ball hawks. It's good to see Iowa. We'll say this: it's good to see Iowa hitting the Chicago area hard. With Brett Bielema now at Illinois, that has been a thought that's went through my mind. Will Brett start to eke his way into Chicago? I mean, for a long time, Illinois hasn't been able to do anything up there, anything significant, and you wonder now with Brett Bielema being there. So it's good to see Iowa landing both of those kids, good prospects from the Chicago area.
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. That was a quick call. Easy question. And I maybe didn't give as much insight as that caller wanted. But boy, when you have 20 prospects, and I've looked at all these guys on tape, I haven't been able to go watch John Nestor in person. I've been able to go watch Khalil Tate in person. So you kind of got to read between the lines, but it does get hard to remember. I've got little notes here and there of these different guys. All of these DBs that Iowa has targeted this cycle and basically any cycle, they're sound, they're disciplined, they have a knack for finding the ball. Zach Lutmer talked about that here a little bit ago when he called in. Khalil Tate is an intriguing one, but all these guys, and they all have good size. Zach Lutmer's 6'1". I think John Nestor's in the 6'1", 6'2" range. Will he end up being? I'm assuming he's going to end up being a safety at Iowa. Zach, I'm assuming will be a safety as well. Certainly a DB. So, I don't want to say they're not cookie cutter. They're not cookie cutter guys. They're all different and unique. But when you're watching them on tape, you see commonalities, and so that's why it's hard for me to talk about a difference between watching a John Nestor and a Zach Lutmer, because those two guys couldn't be different as far as backgrounds. One grew up in Chicago, one grew up in Rock Rapids, Iowa, but they play a similar style. They fit what Phil Parker wants, and that's good. That's consistency in recruiting, and it's worked for as long as Phil Parker's been here. I expect it to continue to work. All right, let's get to Long Shot Hawk, who says any O-line prospects we can get. Well, I'll tell you this, Long Shot Hawk. I know Tyler Barnes, after Caden Proctor decommitted, or at least I believe it was before he officially decommitted, but it had already occurred. He started following a couple of prospects that are in the portal. My guess is they will push for a prospect or two. I'm a little disappointed that we hadn't heard about rumblings at that position earlier in the transfer portal window cycle. And I know it's only been open for a couple of weeks, but that was a need anyways. And even though I think Caden Proctor would have played from day one on, I don't know that there's any reason to believe that they have anybody else there who has locked down their position. Like Mason Richmond had an okay year. Logan Jones struggled. I know Justin Britt was out with injury. I'm assuming he's coming back. Nick DeYoung's he's been up and down. Jack Plum's graduating. So I think they need help there anyways. So I'm with you, Long Shot Hawk. I think that will be a priority. I wish it'd been maybe a bigger priority. Maybe it was, and I'm just not aware of it. But they need help across the board there. Trevor Lauck's going to come in here as a 4-star prospect and give them help. Hopefully, they've swung and missed on some 4-star guys. And when I say swung and missed, they've gotten them here, and they just haven't panned out. I mean, Tyler Enders is an example. I wish the best for him, but he was a 4-star kid from Norwalk, hadn't seen the field here. David Davidkov, I don't know the latest on his situation. He hasn't been with the team, I don't think, since the beginning of camp. Will he join the team again? I mean, Noah Fensky, Ezra Miller, go down the list. They've had a number of guys. Josh Volk had a number of guys leave for various reasons, not work out. And you hope that guys like Colby, Richmond, maybe now Lauk, etc. They've got to start retaining some of these guys and developing them. Iowa has this rich history under Kirk of developing offensive linemen, but they've kind of struggled to do that in recent years, with the exception being Tyler Linderbaum. Tristan Wirfs was a stud when he got here. Linderbaum had to be developed. He was a defensive lineman who turned into a safety, and obviously a really good one. But yeah, great question. We'll see where they go with the portal. Lots of time left for Iowa to hopefully make some headway on some of these guys. Update on Iowa men's basketball. Unbelievable. I'm not watching it closely because we're here talking Iowa football on signing day. Final play of the first half is a tip-in for Iowa. The Hawks now lead 45-37 at the end of the first half. That is concerning, the fact that they're up by just 8 against Eastern Illinois. But we'll talk about that with Gary Close here in a little bit. Let's get to our next caller. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Ryan from McGregor having to call in. I want to thank you for doing a great show here. This has been very entertaining, and the comment section's been outstanding.
Good. I appreciate you being here, and I've enjoyed it as well.
I feel just like all the other Hawk fans do. I mean, I'm disappointed over, Proctor decommitting. But I just want to remind everybody that, we've had this in the past. This is not the first time. We had a kid from Atlantic named Blake Larson that was a 5-star offensive lineman. And, that didn't work out so well for Blake, unfortunately. And everybody had high hopes for him. And then there was another kid, I don't even remember his name, which is sad. I should.
Doring?
But he was from Cedar Falls, and he was a 5-star recruit that ended up going to Alabama.
Oh, Pierce
And
Parker.
that's my point. I don't even know his name, nor do I give a shit. I don't even care because he's not an Iowa guy. And I mean, one thing that Don has reminded everybody on this show throughout the season is that when they would go and they would recruit a kid, you're a celebrity when you're playing at Iowa, and you will get recognized and you will be remembered. There's been a lot of great offensive linemen from Iowa that have gone on to other schools and done some very outstanding work. But hey, the Iowa boys, they're always remembered and recalled and revered. And we remember their names, and they're important to all of us. So that's one thing, you know, that they may get more money or incentives or whatever to play somewhere else, but they're never going to be loved by any other school like the Iowa fans are going to love the players that commit here. And it's obvious today, you know, that when you're looking at these recruits, that there's genuine love here, you know, for the program, and they're committed. And with the work they put in and the sacrifices they make to play in here, I mean, we just got to appreciate all the kids that even, you know, sign and come and play, because it's hard playing in pain and making the sacrifice that you need to make to play on this level. So I just want to kind of calm Iowa fans down. I mean, everybody's disappointed that we've lost a 5-star recruit. Yes, they don't come by Iowa very often. And there's been some really great ones that have done great. Epinesa is one that I recall. But that's sort of how I feel about it. I just want to share that with people so that while we're all disappointed, we kind of put this in perspective, I think, a little bit.
I appreciate that. And, you know, you're absolutely right. And I saw the comment here from Josh that it would have been nice to get Caden, but it's time to move on. I'm happy talking about that in between. I mean, I want to focus on the guys who are here. I mean, right? They deserve to be.
Exactly right. This is a great show. And I mean, these kids are coming in here and, you know, they've committed to the program. So they have hopes that, you know, the coaching staff is going to develop them and equip them to be great football players. I mean, I don't know. One of the things that kind of I would like to ask guys that you're interviewing is, you know, is it their goal to play NFL football, or are they here to play college football and just be a Hawkeye? I mean, sort of like what are their goals for coming here, so to speak? And some kids come to Iowa and they don't have aspirations of playing pro football. And some do. I mean, some come here specifically to try to play pro football. So I just think that some of the kids, though, that are committing are just thrilled to be on scholarship at a D1 school and play in the Big Ten and have earned a scholarship and want to get a degree. And that's the most important to them, you know, than all the other stuff. And I get the pay for play and all that issues that are going on, but I think we're kind of losing sight of a little of this. I don't think it's all lost yet, you know, to the NIL and all that. But that's just what I think. I wonder what you think about that. I mean, in preparing for the show today, do you ponder, like, you know, asking these kids questions as to what their goals are at Iowa, you know, we're asking what positions they'd like to play or, you know, things like that, but the real reason for committing here and what their goals and aspirations are in coming here. They want to play a Big Ten championship or national championship, or do they want to play on the pro level, or is that what they're aspiring to do? This is sort of interesting to hear what they think.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody who's on here listening to some of our conversations with Iowa signees today to go back and listen to some of our longer interviews with some of these same signees like Marcos, like Leighton, like Alex Mota, when we had those conversations. Of course, we have a small window of time for everybody here this afternoon. So I do have to let you slide, Ryan, because we've got an Iowa signee waiting to jump on, but I always enjoy hearing from you, and I'm glad you help keep things in perspective for everybody.
No problem. Merry Christmas to you, Corey, and thank you for doing a great job.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon. Go Hawks, 100%. Before we get to our next Iowa signee who's waiting on hold here for us, I want to give a shout out to Iowa Floor Covering. They're sponsoring the show. They're down in Bondurant. If you have flooring needs, perhaps undergoing a big project, rely on Iowa Floor Covering. They'll take care of you. Give them a call or visit their website, iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. They got a deal right now that they're promoting from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Their Tough Core Click Together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring available at $269 per foot. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering for being a part of this show and, again, sponsoring the work that we're doing here. And again, work that I enjoy, but thank you to Iowa Floor Covering for help to support that. All right, let's get to our next Iowa signee. Aiden Hall is with us. Mr. Aiden Hall, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. This is a big day for you. Let's talk about, first of all, talk about how you feel. This is you have been waiting for this day for a while. You've been locked into your commitment for quite some number of months. What's it feel to finally be a part of the Iowa Hawkeyes?
It feels good. It's been a dream of mine to be able to play for the Hawks. Growing up in a small town, we've always been a Hawkeye fan. And today to finally make it official and sign that letter of intent, it just means the world. I'm super excited for this next stage of my life.
I'll piggyback off our last caller before we get to football and what you're going to give Iowa on the football field. You and I have never talked. I've never had, I'd love to have you on a longer interview at some point, but we got to kind of familiarize people here with your background. What drew you to the Iowa coaching staff? Who was your primary recruiter? Who are you close with? Tell us a little bit about your recruitment.
Coach Woods is definitely the primary recruiter for me. He covers my area. I talked to Coach Parker, Coach Wallace. Those guys recruited me. So yeah, I could play both positions there. But yeah, we have a good relationship with each other. They were coming to my basketball games last year. So I've known the staff for a while. They're a great group. It's a family feel. They know how to get guys to the next level. So yeah, that kind of drew me towards them. So.
And again, piggybacking off our last caller, you're coming to Iowa despite the fact that we are part of an NIL and transfer portal era where money seems to be king at times. You're coming to Iowa not only to be a football player, but a student athlete. What are your goals? I mean, I'm assuming you probably want to play in the NFL if things go the way you anticipate them going, but talk about your aspirations.
So yeah, eventually, I'd like to get to the NFL. That's every kid's dream, I feel like. But yeah, I'd like to get to the NFL. But this first year, my goal is to get on special teams. See what I can do there. And then after that, get a starting spot, and then hopefully win some championships, whether it's Big Ten or a national championship. I'd say we all have that goal, all of us recruits. So yeah.
You have a fascinating recruiting list, and I'm talking about schools that recruited you. It's not often you look at an Iowa prospect, Aiden, and you see Army and Air Force, and then you mix in a Power 5 offer from Minnesota, and I'm grabbing this off 247 Sports. North Dakota State, that's a power at the FCS level. You had a lot of options. I mean, there was no shortage of options for Aiden Hall. What caused you to be? I know you said you grew up a Hawkeye fan, but was there any doubt? What caused you to be so locked into being a Hawk?
I'd say as soon as they offered, I mean, even like at the start, like when I started getting a lot of these FCS offers, I was thinking like, if Iowa offers, like I'm definitely committing. So yeah, as soon as they did, it's been a dream of mine, and getting up on campus and actually seeing it in person, just made me realize even more that this is a place for me. But yeah, I would have liked to go on up and checking out Minnesota, but it was a bit of a time crunch. So yeah, I kind of just had to make that decision. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
How much was obviously they offered, but I mean, Air Force and Army, what's it like being recruited by those schools? I mean, that has to be kind of a unique experience. We do a post-game show with Coach John Patterson, who was an assistant coach under Hayden Fry. He played at Army. So we always get an interesting perspective from him. But tell us what it was like being recruited by those guys.
It's a little, I don't know. I would honestly say it's pretty similar just to being recruited by any other school. I mean, it kind of happens fast. Like both schools just reached out, wanted to get on the phone. Nothing, we didn't talk prior. But yeah, they want to get on the phone. And then they offered me both schools. And then Army, I would say they had a different coach calling me like for a week. It was like a different coach for like 6-7 days straight. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, but yeah.
And talk a little bit about your relationship with Kirk. I mean, I know you have your primary recruiter. You talked about LeVar Woods, but Kirk Ferentz is the dean of college football.
Yeah.
What's it like knowing that you're going to play for a guy who I don't want to say the oldest because that's probably unfair to him, but a guy who's been around the game as long as anybody?
It's awesome. He runs a stable program. Getting to talk to him, getting to meet him. He's a great guy. He was one of the first coaches to come to my games last year in Denison. Him and Coach Woods came all the way up from Denison, which is a 4-hour drive. So that really shows a lot, about the person he is. So yeah, we have a good relationship. Him and my dad loves the guy. Growing up watching Coach Ferentz, and just to be able to play for him now it's unbelievable.
And I'm grabbing this off the Iowa website. They've got you listed as a linebacker. You come into Iowa as an athlete. Is linebacker the future for Aiden Hall? What have they talked about as far as position?
So last week, Coach Woods came to my house. We had lunch, and he told me basically he thinks that I'm going to come in as a safety for maybe a couple of years, and then he thinks I could eventually mold into a linebacker. But right now it's just kind of open. I mean, I'll play wherever. There's a multitude of positions, so I'm very fortunate to be in that spot.
And I'm going to read just for anybody who's not familiar with your career. Again, you talked about your history, Harlan. I mean, what a rich history, small town with a rich football history, as you know, Aiden. But for anybody who's not familiar with Aiden Hall, I'm grabbing this off the Hawkeye website. 4 letters in football: running back, wide receiver, linebacker, defensive back. Your prep team won back-to-back state championships as a junior and a senior. Reached his title game as a sophomore. You went 44-4 over your 4-year high school career. 80 rush attempts for 810 yards this past season, 51 receptions for 837 yards, 51 tackles on defense with interception, recovered fumble for a touchdown, 3 kickoff returns for 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, 73 yards on punt returns for over 2,000 all-purpose yards. You also rushed 94 times for 777 yards as a junior, 32 receptions for 755 yards, 53.5 tackles, 3 interceptions as a junior, 34 receptions for 860 yards. I mean, I can go on and on. You get the gist. You are a stat sheet's dream. So talk about your skill set. You mentioned safety, maybe a potential transition to linebacker eventually. What do you bring to Iowa that you think is special?
Well, a lot of people, they don't know about me is I'm actually super fast. I think I would have ran a 10.6 this year in the 100. But I blew out my hamstring in the district meet. So yeah, I'm very fast. I like to hit people, and I just feel like I'm a smart player, and I'm going to make the smart reads. And I have a knack for making plays on the ball. So yeah, that's what I'll bring. And I'm very hard-nosed, hard-working. I'm going to bring it every day. So, is
there anybody on the current roster that you really admire watching? I mean, Cooper DeJean took a lot of guys by storm this year, and he's a small town guy with speed. But is there anybody on the Iowa roster that you've clicked with maybe on your visits or look up to?
Definitely Cooper. We actually raced each other my sophomore year a couple times. It was in Denison. I almost beat him. I was probably ahead for the first 50, 60 meters. And then he got me at the end, but it's cool. Definitely Cooper for sure. So yeah.
And finally, I want to finish up with this. Harlan, I talked about how unique that community is. Would you be the player, the person you are today, Aiden, if it wasn't for Harlan?
Maybe not. My family, we used to live in Denison, which is 30 minutes away. It's not a very good football program. I guess it's starting to become one now, but at the time we left, it wasn't the best. So then we left, came here. It's definitely helped me a lot. I have a great head coach who has a lot of connections, and just helped me get recruited. So yeah, coming here has definitely helped me a lot. I was able to win 2 state championships. So yeah, I'm very fortunate.
And just to clarify, when did you move to Harlan?
I was in 3rd grade.
You were in 3rd grade. Okay.
So I have 2 older brothers, and they both went to Denison High School. So we moved right after that.
Yeah, Denison is a very. I mean, I'm hearing names where you're Denison's straight over on Highway 30, but unless you have a reason to go to Denison, you probably never ever visit the community of Denison. Nice little community, but
yeah,
it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And in Harlan, I mean, it's not like you're surrounded. What's that?
It's the same thing. Yeah, there's nothing around here. Harlan's smaller than Denison, actually.
So you got a Dollar? Is there a Dollar General?
There is a Dollar General.
You got a Mexican restaurant?
We do. We got a Burger King.
Yeah,
we got a couple other restaurants around, but other than that, there ain't much.
So what does Aiden Hall like to do in his free time?
Play video games, work out. I'm just like every other kid, really.
Yeah, I remember talking to Aaron Graves last year, and I asked him that question. He's like, "Well, what's there to do in Gowrie, Iowa?"
Like, yeah, there's not much.
Yeah,
go down to Omaha every once in a while. That's not that far.
How far is Omaha? An hour and a half?
Like 50 minutes.
Okay, wow, even less than I thought.
That's not bad. So,
well, I'm assuming you're going to be here in the summertime. Is that correct?
Yep, June. Yep.
So, again, just congratulations from us here, Aiden, and thank you for being a part of this show. We look forward to seeing you in the summer, and I know that certainly Kirk Ferentz is going to, if this ever gets back to him, he's going to like hearing you say, "Hey, I just want to work on special teams to start out," because you and I both know, Aiden, that guys get on the field primarily on special teams to start, and boy, a number of highly acclaimed stars from this program that have emerged via special teams. So we look forward to seeing you work hard this next summer and potentially get in the field early.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Aiden. Aiden Hall from Harlan, Iowa, future potential linebacker. It's interesting that Iowa has him, their commitment list, their signee list today. They list Aiden as a linebacker. And it sounds like maybe his at least immediate future is at safety. So appreciate Aiden being a part of this show, and very, very rich football history. If you don't know much about Harlan football, do some Googling. You'll find some incredible stuff about that small town community. And again, he's another guy who's been locked into he's been a part of this class for quite some time. Obviously, it wasn't official till today, but we just, I guess, human element, human inclination is to kind of overlook these guys who have just been locked in, whether we're talking about Aiden Hall or Zach Lutmer or Maddox Borcherding Johnson. And sometimes those are the guys that end up being mainstays in this program. And boy, intriguing offer list from Aiden Hall. We're talking about, again, Army, Navy, Minnesota, North Dakota State, South Dakota State was in on Aiden as well. So looking forward to seeing him arrive on campus this coming summer. All right, the phone line is open, folks. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. You can also join by means of the link in the description below. I know I'm behind on the chat a bit. Ryan wants to know, do we have anyone on the staff that recruits Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi specifically? I don't have the answer to that, Ryan. I mean, Iowa's not real active down there. I know, they found Brandon Smith a couple of years back. Well, it's been more than a couple of years, 5 or 6 years back. Found him. I believe he was a Mississippi State kid, or a Mississippi kid, excuse me. I don't know. I'm trying to think of guys recently that they've recruited from down there. Obviously, the Purdue flip is as a Texas guy. Texas is a hotbed. Iowa used to do a lot of damage down in Texas when Hayden Fry was here, and certainly Don Patterson. Those guys were Texas boys. So, Liddell Betts helps them down in Florida. No question about it. They've nabbed some guys from the Sunshine State. I don't have an answer to this question about Bama, Louisiana, and Mississippi State. I got to give you an update, folks, on this Iowa men's basketball game. And you don't care about basketball. I'm sorry. Iowa right now leads Eastern Illinois 47-44 with 16 minutes to go. It's not a typo. 3-point lead. The Hawkeyes at home playing a 3-9 Eastern Illinois team, and a dunk for the Panthers. It's a 1-point game. Yikes. This is a get out of jail. Let's hope it's a get out of jail free day for the Iowa Hawkeyes, because this is a loss you cannot have as it relates to being the bubble team in March. You lose to Eastern Illinois. That is a backbreaker potentially. Yikes. Josh wants to know any updates from the transfer big from Texas Tech is in the portal. You're referring to Fardaws Aimaq. The reports were that he was planning on entering the portal. He never did. My understanding is that he's staying put. He came out with a statement. He is staying put at Texas Tech. He's hurt right now, but my understanding is he'll be back once he gets healthy. So, if he had entered the portal, boy, if you're Iowa, you look at him, right? Iowa could have most definitely used somebody like Fardaws Amac, but doesn't sound like that's going to be a possibility. Brad says Iowa's a 32-point favorite against Eastern. It's a 1-point game. Ryan, I don't have the answer to that. Is Connor not playing? I don't have the answer to that because I haven't been watching it. And again, we can stick to basketball, to football. But I will answer your question here because I've got my phone up in front of me. According to the box score, I guess you could look this up too, Ryan, right? But I'll do it since I'm on here. According to the box score, Connor McCaffrey has not played today. So remember, he banged up the forearm wrist area against Southeast Missouri. And again, I'm assuming that Gary Close is watching this. He's going to be able to give us some insight into this because this is ugly. This is bad. Maybe Eastern Illinois is taking out some anger. Maybe the football coaches met with the basketball team because remember, Iowa got the flip from Tegan Davis on the football field. And maybe there's some sour grapes and Eastern Illinois stepped up to the plate. But this is not a good result so far. 16 minutes to go. Hawks up 1. Timeout on the floor, 47-46. Ryan says, did any of the Iowa kids that entered the portal get picked up that were not previously signed before today? Well, Keegan Johnson's transferring to Kansas State. We know that. Obviously, Arlen Bruce is not committed anywhere. He did visit Mississippi State recently, in answer to your question, Brian. Justin Jacobs is committed to Oregon, so I'm assuming he's signed today. I'm assuming that's how it works, right? He'll sign today or has signed today. Dallas Cradith entered the portal. He's listed on the Iowa 2 deep, so that's intriguing. He is listed on the 2 deep, so it will be intriguing to see what happens with him. Does he stay here? Is that just kind of a bone that Iowa's thrown at him for being so loyal for the last 4 years? He has been a guy you look up to. Just a great story. Dallas Cradith, who came here as a 4-star kid, struggled to get on the field on defense and has stuck around. And we'll get a chance somewhere else if he chooses to leave, I think, to play. But his loyalty to this program is something that's not all that common. By the way, Iowa with the ball now out of the timeout, and Tony Perkins scores inside, so it's now a 3-point lead for the Hawks under 16 minutes to go. All right. If I missed your super chat earlier, please let me know. I don't believe I did. But again, please let me know. A reminder to please hit the like button if you're here. We got about 240 people on. It'd be great if everybody could just take a moment to scroll down on your page, on your screen, and hit that like button, hit the thumbs up. That helps the channel immensely. And by the way, the other thing about Iowa basketball right now, playing with fire against Eastern, it's like the Richmond game last year in the tournament, last season. You've already allowed Eastern to gain confidence, regardless of how Iowa plays from here on out. They've already gained confidence that they can play with the Hawks. I mean, they just made a contested jumper. It's back down to a 1-point game. That's a problem with letting a team like this hang around. And boy, it's a sleepy arena. I mean, they don't look like anybody at that game. And I don't blame Iowa fans right now. You got snow falling here in Ames. You've got a game that's being played in the middle of the day. Now, that's not an excuse for the players, but for fans, this is the one time I won't blame fans for maybe not showing up. It is what it is, and this is a game that Iowa should have had won in the first 10 minutes of the game. So, again, we'll keep following it here throughout the day. All right. Keith says, this recruiting class is a good one for Iowa. It will keep them at 7 or 8 wins a year. Not bad. Well, I don't know if there's some sarcasm there from Keith, but again, I don't really care so much about rankings, like the 247 Sports rankings and the Rivals rankings. It's got them in the 30s right now with Caden Proctor. It was a top 25 class. I trust Phil Parker. I trust Kirk to identify talent, especially at non-skill positions, right? I think the verdict is out as it relates to wide receiver. Iowa has struggled to recruit wide receivers. We can run through the class. We got a brief opening here before our next athlete calls in. Let me pull up the official class here, and I don't have all of it for the screen here, but of course you can search this, right? You can find this in a couple of seconds. But we've talked to some of our recruits this afternoon. Let's talk about some of the guys that we don't have coming on the show today. Trevor Lauk, 4-star kid out of Indianapolis, moves really well for 6'6", 285. He is, according to 247 Sports, the best prospect in this class for the Hawkeyes. He signed today. He's got an opportunity to come in and play early. Not saying he's going to be a day one starter. That's tough to do. I think Caden Proctor could have pulled it off. But Lauk, I mean, this class is built around Lauk and Marco Lainez. Lauk is the only 4-star left, the only 4-star at all in this class per 247. I think Marco Lainez is every bit of a 4-star. And at one time, he was a 4-star, according to either Rivals or 247. But as of right now, Lauk is the highest rated kid. Leighton Jones mentioned him earlier. We talked to him. Future at center, Alex Mota at receiver, guy who can take the top off a defense, play a lot of quarterback in high school, play a little bit of receiver his senior year. But he's got some development to do. But again, we're talking receiver. Position's not as hard to learn once you get to the college level. Ben Keeter, linebacker, world champion wrestler. He is going to be a special. I really do believe he's going to be special. Don't have him coming on the show this afternoon. Would have loved to have had him on. He is a guy who's home ground. I mean, he's literally an Iowa City high kid, and 6'3", 220. Again, Iowa's pedigree for loving wrestlers. Looking forward to seeing Ben develop at Iowa. Hawkeyes now, the Iowa men's basketball team, up 50-48, 15 minutes to go. Let's get to our next caller, Erica. Welcome,
Hello.
Erica.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. I just had a few quick comments I wanted to go through here. The first one is, obviously I'm disappointed about Caden. I'm not going to talk too much about it. And I do agree that some people are not handling it and not representing us very well with what they're saying. And I don't mean in this chat, I'm just saying in general, like on Twitter and that type of stuff. But I guess one could argue sometimes on Twitter, that's how things go. But so it'd be really nice if people are really swearing at Caden like he's claiming. It would be nice if people would stop that, I think. That being said, I'm also a little frustrated about it because he did leave us a little bit high and dry. But at the end of the day, it's his decision and he's going to do what he needs to do and what he wants to do. So hopefully he does okay over there. I won't be watching him, but hopefully he does okay down at Bama.
Yeah, I know. I wish all the best for him. By the way, Eastern Illinois just took the lead. Yikes, 51-50. I don't have any, of course, no ill wishes for a kid like for Caden Proctor. I understand the timing is frustrating. I get that. I mean, he's got every right to decommit and flip. I know some people thought this was coming a few weeks back. I talked about it on a recent show that Iowa's home visit they conducted with Caden last week was bad. I don't know if that's the reason, the main reason why this decommitment occurred. I know he had a tremendous visit down in Alabama. I mean, the Tuscaloosa guys, I mean, they just hit this thing out of the park. So that's a factor. And I don't have any reason to think his circle's not telling the truth. I believe they're being genuine on this. I wish the kid all the best as well. I'm with you. Why wouldn't you at this point? I think there's reason to believe he made this decision genuinely. I know some people want to place it all on money. That's, if you believe that, you can believe that. I know his circle, they've consistently said it's not about money. You don't have to believe that if you don't want to, but it is frustrating if people are going out of their way to be nasty, to make comments directed at him. It's unfortunate. My advice to him is just take a break from social media. You're locked in. Why do you need to be on social media?
Right. And did he expect, what I'm wondering is, did he expect the Iowa fans to just be okay with it? Like, if that was his expectation, that's not realistic. Obviously, people are not going to be happy. But on the other side of it, it doesn't give anyone, like the fact what he did, doesn't give anyone free reign to just being nasty, like you said. So I get both sides of it, I guess is my point. At the end of the day, he's made his decision. He's going to do what he's going to do. And hopefully people stop being nasty. And hopefully he stops telling, putting a bad name out there for Iowa. Because that's kind of what I feel like he's doing at the moment.
Brad says, if the home visit was bad, can we safely put this on the coaching staff for screwing this up? That's up for everybody to determine. Again, I'm not going to name who my source is, but it's someone within the Caden Proctor, I say friends, family, circle. It's someone reliable. If you want to call him a liar, you're welcome to. If that's the case, if that information was correct, then that I have no reason to think that wasn't a factor. If Iowa had knocked that home visit out of the park, then maybe he wouldn't have been swayed. I don't know. I know if I go out in the record and say, well, this is Iowa's fault, there are going to be so many people, even the people who don't like Brian and don't like Kirk, so many people who are so angry at Caden because he didn't stick to his word and he wasn't loyal. that they will defend Iowa in this, even though they weren't in that room, right? Just like in that room, nobody else was in that room but Caden, his friends, his family, whoever else was there, the 3 coaches that were there from Iowa. We don't know what happened. So I'm just going by what I was told. If that's the case, then you have to put some accountability, some responsibility on the Iowa coaches.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, it really is starting to feel like the coaches are just getting a free pass. And I don't mean just with Caden, I mean in general, they're getting a free pass because, you know, I'm not going to rehash the last season. We're here to look forward and look at the next season, and I get that. But everyone who's watched this show and seen my opinions, like here on the show, like in the chat and on social media, know how I feel about the whole thing. Let's just leave it at that. But it does seem like a lack of accountability going on here. And I think that's something that hopefully will be fixed. I hope it is. And, you know, Corey, I know you've said on the show more than once that hopefully, you know, our athletic director sat down with Kirk and said, look, we're going to have to let Brian go. And if you're not okay with that, you might also have to leave. At first I was like, I'm not crazy about the idea of Kirk being let go. I mean, absolutely. I've said the whole season I want Brian gone, but I wasn't thrilled with the idea of Kirk leaving. But now I've gotten to the point just in the last, you know, few games of the season, I'm okay if Kirk has to leave, if that's what it means. I mean, he did a lot for this program, but I don't think it's fair to say that you can't say that, oh, he did a lot and, you know, that's why we should keep him. No, like we can say that, yeah, both the things, like he's done a lot. That's 100% true. But the last few years haven't been fantastic. The nepotism stuff, the racism stuff, all of this. So it might be times that we part ways, and we don't want this to end up like Hayden Fry, where it just ended up being he had to go. We don't want that. He's had such a good run here. Why wreck it that way?
I understand where you're coming from now. The apologists, the people who defend Kirk on some of the issues that I think are valid, you just brought up, would bring up the fact, Erica, that they did win 10 games last year.
I'm so tired of hearing that. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of hearing that. That wasn't because of the offense that we won those 10 games. Let's be real.
No, but you're calling out Kirk, and Kirk, he is not the OC as much as people want to think he is. He's not.
No, I know, but ultimately all of it falls on him. He's the head coach.
You're right.
He's the head coach. And so it's a cop-out just to say, oh, it's all on Brian, it's all on this person, it's all on that person. Well, we need to hold everybody involved accountable. And granted, it might be more directly related to Brian's play calls, for example, and all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, they all report to Kirk as the head coach. So I'm not saying I want him gone tomorrow necessarily either. But if he refuses to let Brian leave, you know, I'm sorry. That's just, we need to do something. Like, I'm not okay. And the whole reason, like, I decided to call in started more so with there was somebody in the chat who seems to be content with just 7 or 8 wins every year, and it just seems dead against the idea of having anyone improve anything. And I just think that is such a defeatist attitude. I am so tired of hearing that from people. Why can't we want more? Like, we deserve better. What's wrong with wanting that?
I'm not going to tell you there's anything wrong with it. And if this, I'll say this: if the offensive woes don't improve, then I don't know how anybody could defend it. And I say it, I'm talking about Kirk. I mean, I don't know how anybody can defend that at that point.
Right. We're getting to the point of no return here. I mean,
some would say, Erica, that you got to give Kirk time now because he's grabbed a really good prospect out of the portal at quarterback. He's grabbed a really good tight end prospect. Now, they've also lost guys, and I understand you may, rebuttal and say, well, Brian's still running the offense. I understand that point of view. It's going to be an intriguing few weeks because we got the bowl game, and then, will we see any staff changes? It will be interesting to see.
Yeah. And I mean, there's that. And then there's, like I said, there's this defeatist attitude within the fan base. Some people are just okay with status quo, and everyone has the right to their opinion. And that's totally okay if someone disagrees with what I think. Like, I'm just some, Iowa graduate who lives in the Chicago area. I don't mean much in the grand scheme of things, and I get that, but I am sure I'm not alone in wanting better. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, we should be striving to be the best we can be. Why can't we think about looking at natties and stuff like that? I don't understand why not. Just because we haven't done it in so many years doesn't mean we can't.
I love your way of thinking, Erica. It's progressive, and I think it's the right way of thinking as it relates to college football.
I mean, if I thought like that in my personal life, I wouldn't get anywhere. No one would. No one would grow as a person or as a professional or what have you if they thought that way.
Yeah, I hear you.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get emotional, but I just feel like I've been saying the same thing all season long, and it's just getting to the point where it's like, come on now. Like this is becoming almost,
Let's wait until the first couple of weeks of January, and if depending on what changes are made, what changes are not made, we'll have those conversations.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where it's like embarrassing to say you're an Iowa fan almost in some respects. Like if things don't change, if Brian's not let go and the offense can't get their act together, which I agree with you. Like Marco, I am huge. I'm already a huge fan of his, and I haven't even seen him play a snap as a Hawkeye yet. I think he's fantastic. I think some of the other recruits who've come on today are fantastic and just have such good attitudes and such good abilities, and I really believe in all of that. But the fact is, if there's nepotism going on, if there's racism going on, if we don't hold coaching or coaches accountable, I mean, what does that mean for our program?
Valid concerns, Erica. Valid concerns.
Anyway, I am preaching to the choir for the most part. I think it's just, I saw someone in the chat commenting like 7 or 8 wins should be enough. I just don't buy into that philosophy at all. I think that's hogwash.
Hogwash. That's a good word.
Sorry. I get passionate.
Right.
You know me, I've called in passionately a few times before. Not my first time.
Right about being complacent, and that's everybody's right. They want to view things. I'm right with you. I think Iowa, if you're being complacent, if you're complacent and satisfied with 8 to 9 wins a season, then get on out of here.
Right.
That's my opinion. But
like if you want more, if you're content with that, just start watching FCS then. Like don't even bother watching Hawkeyes or Big Ten at all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, come on.
You're going to just say, listen, you're going to get ripped by some people in the chat.
I don't care. Sorry, that's I don't care. They have the right to their opinion. I have the right to mine. And if we can't agree, we can't agree. I'm not going to cry over it. Like that's fine. I take it. I feel I have my opinion and they have the right to theirs as well. So that's fine.
Absolutely.
That's Eric, totally okay with me.
We've got our next athlete on hold here. I always enjoy hearing from you and please call back.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks, Erica. All right. Well, that was real. Now we've got a guy who's who just won a natty. I mean, you just won a natty. And Ontario, you heard part of that last phone call. You know that fans here want success. You literally are the epitome of success at the college level. First of all, thank you for being here. You just coming off a national championship at Iowa Western. Congratulations on signing today. What's it been like these last few weeks, just from winning a national championship to signing? What's it been like?
It's been unreal. I mean, I still can't believe that I'm a national champ. Like, if you look back into it, all them hard summers, all them hard workouts, all the hard work that we put in as individuals and as a group, it's just speechless. I mean, we still talk about it to this day. Like, we're really national champs. We really made it all the way here. Everybody doubted us. Everybody didn't believe we was going to make it here. And we made it. And when we got the opportunity to make it in the playoffs, we knew it was the last chance we ever play with each other. And the last game, the national championship game, we did our all. We played our all. We shut out the number 1 team, what they said was the number 1 team. And we were crowned national champs.
And what's it feel like today? You made it official. You are a Big Ten defensive lineman. If anybody missed your interview, we just talked a few weeks ago. It hasn't been that long ago. So if anybody missed that interview, certainly go back and check that out because they'll hear your story. We don't have time to go through everything today, but you're a Dubuque kid. You're an Iowa kid. You went through tribulation. You stuck to your values that were instilled by different mentors in your life, including some coaches that I know mean a lot to you. But what's it feel like to have come full circle and you're able to go back to Eastern Iowa as a Big Ten defensive tackle?
It's crazy. I mean, if you take a look back at the when we first talked in the episode where I was explaining my life story, I mean, I was never looked at as some crazy athlete growing up. I never looked at myself that way. I never believed in myself as a crazy athlete. I was into video games. I was just a kid that liked to stay in the house. And then when I got the opportunity, when I actually wanted to play sports, no one believed in me at first. Nobody thought I was gonna get to where I'm at right now. So like that fueled me to do what I am today. I'm a Big Ten defensive tackle. People dream about these moments. I got people texting me telling, "Oh, you came from my hometown, Dubuque. You got me. I got people looking up to me, and I was looking up to people. And just for people to just look up to me as somebody that got out of the Dubuque, Iowa, that made it to Big Ten, made it to play Power 5 college football is just crazy. And I'm signed. I'm a part of Iowa, and I'm ready. Like, I'm so ready. Like, I'm ready to give my 100% all to this program.
I could be wrong. I haven't talked with everybody here in the class. We've had a conversation with a number of your future teammates in Iowa 2023 signees today. But are you the only guy that you know of that's enrolling early from this freshman class?
As of right now, I think I am the only one, but I haven't really talked to no others that are coming in early. But as of right now, I think I'm the only one enrolling early.
What's that going to do for you? Be able to get there in the spring and tear some heads off?
I get a head start, man. I get a head start into being coached by Coach Bell, learning the plays, learning all the schemes, and when spring ball comes around, I'm gonna already be 10 steps ahead.
Jordan in our chat, he says something about the future potentially with you and Aaron Graves. What do you know about Aaron Graves?
I mean, so I was scrolling on my phone one time. I was going through Instagram stories, and then a video popped up of him, and it was just showing how he was a multi-sport athlete that was dominating wrestling. He hooped and he played football. He ended up being, I think he was player of the year. Was he player of the year?
I'm sure he was.
It was some crazy like that. And then I went to the Iowa visit. I got to see him practice, and he big. That's a big boy right there, man.
He is.
All of them big. I went there and I thought I was big. I got to see more people about my size develop like me, and I can't wait to get up there and just knock some heads off, man.
We can imagine it as people who cover the sport, follow the sport. You and Aaron Graves together in a couple of years. I mean, I'm not saying it could happen sooner than we think, but I mean, you two potentially, and we'll see if Aaron's he was kind of recruited as a DN. As you know, Kelvin Bell likes to run guys all over the place, right? He's going to mix and match with combos. And, we didn't see as much as a Raider package where guys are standing up and kind of moving across that line. But man, that is a good reason. Jordan in our chat, good point. Seeing you and Aaron Graves in the football field at the same time here, potentially in the next year or two. What do you bring to Iowa that is unique? You are, I can tell you my opinion, your speed off the line, right? I mean, you get off your spot quickly. You obviously have a knack for getting to the quarterback. Just talk about your skill set. What makes Ontario Thompson special in the football field?
I mean, like you said, my speed at my size. I feel like I'm very quick, very twitchy. I feel like coming into Iowa, I could bring a little finesse in there. I'm really good with my hands. I'm very powerful with my hands. And I got really long arms. Man, I can bring a lot to Iowa's defense. And like people, and I want to bring this up too for the fans and everything. Everybody's calling me Davion Nixon 2.0 and this and that. I like to say I appreciate the compliments, but I would like to come in as Ontario Thompson. I don't want to come in with these expectations of being like Davion Nixon. I know he came from my school. I know we were the same number at the school. We both came to Iowa, but I just want to be known as myself, Ontario Thompson. No disrespect to what he did for the Iowa program. He was very dominant, and you see he's drafted, but I like to change it up, come in as Ontario Thompson. I just wanted to tell the fans that.
I appreciate that. And you are your own guy, and it's natural. I mean, the comparisons are going to be made. I think when I asked you a few weeks ago, I said, well, who do you emulate? I think maybe you brought up Davion Nixon. But I think the great thing about your story, and certainly Davion Nixon, he went through adversity in high school, but you really, I mean, you're talking, there were times prior to going to Iowa Western where you were talking about not playing football anymore, right? I mean, we would have never gotten here. We would have never gotten to Iowa Western. I'll make sure to share this again later. I'll share the link in the live chat. People need to go back and listen to that interview with you here a few weeks ago. But briefly, I know you got to go and we got a schedule here. Tell us what caused you to who helped you and what caused you to stick with football and endure the difficult times.
My grandma, man. I mean, like I lost her 4 years ago on Thanksgiving Day. And I was hurt. I didn't feel like myself. I lost a part of me, and I lost the sport of football. I let things get to me. I messed up academically, and I got a concussion prior from the days I was going to return to play football, and it was just a lot of emotions that came in, and I ended up quitting the game of football. But I sat down one night. I felt my grandma was with me at that moment, and she was and I had a conversation with her, and she let me know, man. She let me know you can't quit the game of football. I felt her voice. You can't quit the game of football. What would you do if I was still here? And I told her, I told her, I'm a dog. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna do it for you. I got her name tatted on me. I'm doing this for my grandma. I do this for my mother. I do this for my family. I do it for everybody that believe in me. I mean, the fans, I'm just letting y'all know now, man. I got a motor. I'm coming in hungry. I'm coming in determined, be the best I can be, and be the best I can be for the Iowa program.
And it's one thing, I know I keep going back to adversity. It's one thing to feel that, but when you have overcome those things, because if you're riding on top of the world in Ontario and you never experience adversity, you may have all the confidence in the world, but what happens when things get rough? You've been through those times, and you're going to experience adversity in the Big Ten level, but it sounds like you feel confident you can meet those adversities head on as they come. Erica has a super chat for you. Thank you, Erica. She says, Ontario, I'm the fan who complimented your interview on this channel a few weeks ago. Excited to see you in the black and gold. So, and I, again, reiterating, everybody in our chat, people are pumped to see you get it done in an Iowa uniform here soon. And so give me a timeline, Ontario. Wrap this interview up. Give me a timeline as to when you will actually get to Iowa City.
So the plan is right now I'm taking 2 winter classes for Iowa Western at home. They're 2 3-week classes. And once I'm done with those and I get my AA degree, I'm going to enroll in Iowa the first week of January. So I should be on campus the first week of January, the 2nd at the latest.
So you will be here sooner rather than later, excuse me. Ontario Thompson, 6'3", 295 guy who runs a 4.6 40. 4.6 40. That's pretty fast, folks, for a 300-pound dude. So we look forward to seeing you running that fast at opposing quarterbacks in the Big Ten here very soon, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. You have a good one.
Thank you. Always love talking to Ontario. Had him on a few weeks ago. I got to give people an update, folks. 6:51 to go. And I just cannot believe what I'm witnessing here. Iowa down 70-65 to Eastern Illinois. To a 3-9 Eastern Illinois team that's absolutely awful. Obviously, they haven't played awful today, but man alive. Iowa trying to employ a press, and they give up another bucket plus a foul. Things are snowballing right now, and it's 72-65 with 6:53 to go. We will wait and see, but it's going to be a pretty depressing post-game show, and this could be a killer for March. Wow. We'll talk about that here coming up. All right. I believe we have our next guest here to the show, Mr. Jarrett Dewey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
And I'm good. Am I pronouncing the first name correctly? Jarrett?
Jarrett Dewey.
Jarrett. Okay. I knew I was pronouncing it wrong. Didn't sound right off the tongue. First of all, Jarrett, thank you for being here. It's been I'm sure, a wild day, a busy day for you. What's it like to finally be inked in a part of the Swarm officially?
I mean, yeah, I just want to thank God, it wouldn't be possible without him, and I think it's very relieving, we got all that built up pressure, got it out of the way. We're here, we signed already, we're like official, and I'm gonna be in Iowa, in June. So.
And your story, your recruitment is very unique because you did recruit pretty late in the cycle. Can you give people an idea as to why you waited as long as you did, and then ultimately what sold you on Iowa?
What made me wait so long in general is just, family issues and all that. I was trying to find something, a little bit close to to Florida. It's for moms and stuff, and for the family, it's hard when their child leaves and all that far. Personally, I was ready. I'm ready to grow up, impact this team and all that. But for a mother and all that, it's pretty hard. So at the end of the day, I'm ready to go up there. And then, I got offered late by Iowa. Our first phone call, we had a nice little 30-minute call with Coach Copeland. He offered me like on the spot. He was like, I know, I watched your film, all that. You're a good player. Kept it real with me. And he offered me on like our first phone call. We automatically scheduled a visit like pretty much a week later. And then I just they treated me well. So, here I am.
Well, you had an opportunity. According to your offer list, and I know the offers come and go, Jarrett, but you had some offers closer to home. I would assume West Virginia is considerably closer to home. Certainly South Florida. For anybody that's not familiar with South Florida, it's not really in South Florida, right? It's right there in Tampa. So, again, what was it that sold you on Iowa? This is an Iowa offense that has a great need at receiver, but hasn't proven a whole lot at that position. That's been well documented, Jarrett. What ultimately was it about Iowa?
Yeah, it definitely was, the visit when I went up there. I went up there with my dad, and my dad liked it a lot as well. Just great people up there, They're telling me they're real friendly, They're telling me, when I get up there, they're just Coach Dom, he was just being real with me, I like that. Majority of the coaches over there, they're real just real with you. And I just like, how he was explaining everything to me, telling me how I can contribute to the offense. I'll go up there and I just gotta work, and I'll just go up there and work, and then I'm sorry. When I go up there for the summer, all that working out and stuff, I just got to see where I fit in the offense, X and the slot and the Z. I can play all of that. I don't care, and that's really what sold me. It's just it's a big time school, of course. Great people, great, they're going to take care of me up there, and yeah.
I'm curious about your impressions of the Iowa staff. Is there any coach that you've hit it off with? Obviously, position-wise.
The running backs coach Betts, he recruits down here. That was one of the first people I talked to. He's real cool. Coach Copeland, the receivers coach, he's actually from Florida, down south. So, there's an automatic connection there. He's just, like I said, they're all real nice. They're all real good people. And they're just giving it to me straight up, So,
And you know the struggles of the Iowa offense. There's no fact or way around that. Yeah. But you've got a guy in Cade McNamara coming down from Michigan, who is going to be your quarterback, along with yourself, a guy named Alex Mota from Marion. There is some hope here that this past game on track. Dayton Howard, a really unique prospect out of the Kansas City area that's been kind of overlooked. What reason do you have to believe that this offense will move in the right direction as it relates to the passing game?
I just feel as long as everybody, does their part, we go. We had a young O-line last year. So, O-line, as long as they get right, receivers, I promise you, we're going to do our job. I went up there, I talked to on my visit, I was talking to Deontay and all of them. I mean, they're just like, they're just real focused on making the offense better, and I like that. We just got the new quarterback too. Of course, a quarterback is a very big role in the offense. He's going to make some plays. I believe the receivers are going to make plays, and then the offensive line steps up. We're solid.
You are 6'2". Final question I'll ask you, Jarrett, and we'll let you slide. You're 6'2". Is it accurate to say you're approximately 182 pounds? That's what 247 Sports got you right now.
Around there, yeah.
Tell us about you as a player. I mean, you've got some size, you got some good length. On tape, you kind of remind me of like a Jacob Bostic, who we haven't been able to see yet here, but he's a kid from Illinois who similar size, I think, as well. You're a guy I see on tape go up and win a jump ball contest, but you've also got good speed for your size. Tell Iowa fans what they can expect from you as a.
At my school, I've been my 3 years that I started sophomore, junior, and senior. I feel like I've been used like at every single way you can use a receiver. I mean, I played sophomore year. I was just taking the top off. I was a deep threat. I'd run by people. Junior year, I also played outside. Junior year. Senior year this year, I played more slot because our offense is more evolved around the slot receiver. So I moved in, so I can make some more plays. And then, I mean, I think that showed that I can definitely get that yak. I'm getting a lot of short passes in our offense. And then I think it just shows, my hands with sophomore, the deep balls, the close balls. I think I've showed everything, especially with my blocking. My blocking, I know that's going to be a big part of the Iowa offense. I believe my blocking is very good. And, if you watch my film, I'm cracking linebackers, I'm putting DBs down too. So, I have like pretty much every attribute that you need in a receiver, and the speed as well. Like you said, I can turn it on like right after the catch. I like that yak.
Well, Jarrett, it's been a pleasure to get to know you here in the last few minutes, and we look forward to seeing you here in the summer. It looks nice. I see you're outside, right? You're in a vehicle. I see the sunshine. What do I dare ask what the temperature and the weather is like right now in Tampa?
Oh, I couldn't even. It's probably a cool like 80 degrees. That's cool.
Come on. Is it 80 degrees?
Yeah, probably. With the humidity, you know how it feels. It feels around like 80.
Oh, good Lord. Well, here
feels good. Yeah.
Okay. You know what the weather is here?
Like 10 degrees?
Yeah, I think it's like 20. Well, it might be more than 10 degrees right now, but it's we're waiting for 10 inches of snow tonight. And
oh, wow.
50 mile per hour winds. Have you seen snow? Have you been in snow?
Yeah, I lived in Washington State for a little bit, so I've seen snow and all that. But I don't think I think it'll get a little bit deeper in Iowa.
You haven't seen Iowa snow yet.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom actually went up there when it was like 8 degrees this past weekend. She went up there and she was telling me it's cold and all that. It's fine. At the end of the day, you gotta accumulate to it.
Well, we look forward to seeing you adjust to the Iowa weather, and you got a chance to make an impact fairly early. Jarrett, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we will hope to talk to you again soon. And congratulations on today. Big day for you, and we look forward to seeing you in June.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jarrett Bowie from the Tampa area. He's a guy who Iowa fans should be excited about because he comes in at a position of need. And, boy, they were fortunate to get Jarrett Bowie. Remember, Iowa had struggled to land quality receivers in this class. And, Bowie had some good offers. We're talking a really good James Madison program. Iowa State offered. Duke offered. Boston College offered. West Virginia, South Florida. Toledo was a good program. He had opportunities to go places that were actually closer to home. He ended up going to Iowa. Credit to Iowa on the visit. By the way, I don't know what this is about. This comment just came in a couple minutes ago. Nathan Thompson, I've seen that name in here before. I appreciate, Nathan, you being here. But he says the Iowa visit is pure speculation unless your sources will come forward. Perhaps the coaches were set up and there was no other outcome. The decision has been made. Let it go. Nathan, I appreciate you being here. Okay. You all have heard me say that. I always lead with that, and then I say something. So, Nathan, I appreciate you being here. But to act like I'm not letting it go because we're talking about Caden Proctor. It happened yesterday, Nathan. Again, appreciate you being here. Appreciate your comment. But I'm not going to be dictated by one or two people about what I can and cannot talk about on my show. I hate to sound like I'm being petty. I'm not going to be dictated about that. If people want to ask me about Caden, we've spent the last 3.5 hours talking with Iowa recruits. How much time have we spent talking about Caden Proctor? Let's add Kyle into the mix. Kyle, you've been watching. How much time have I spent talking about Caden Proctor?
I haven't been. I joined halfway through, but
okay,
not maybe 5% of the show, maybe.
I am not going to be dictated about what I can and cannot talk about on here. And if you think it's
I agree.
I think it's not relevant. I'm sorry. Again,
it's the biggest recruit that we've lost in my lifetime, and probably ever.
I'm not ripping you, Nathan. I promise. I'm just speaking for anybody who feels this way. I don't agree. And I'm not going to be dictated about what I can and cannot talk about. And if you're doubting, if you're saying it's pure speculation, I'm not telling you to believe the source. I've said over and over again, it comes from someone close to Caden Proctor, someone in his circle. You don't have to agree with it. By the way, you don't when you listen to anybody who's reporting what you would assume to be fact, you're not always going to get a named source. People have a right to anonymity.
You can't name drop. Like if it's somebody in his circle, they don't want to, especially now that we're reporting from the side of we didn't get him, they don't want to be name dropped.
Well, they don't have to. They don't have to,
Yeah.
and I don't need them to.
No.
And I'm telling you that it's a reliable source. If you want to doubt me, I don't care. You can doubt me all you want, but it's not pure speculation. This is whether the person dropped their name or not. This source is as credible as you could get, right?
Yeah.
Now they could be. It's always possible, Kyle, that they could be saying a flat out lie. That's possible because anybody could lie. I mean, I can come on here and just tell you a load of crap, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm not asking.
And if they do lie, it's not your problem, quite frankly.
If you think that I'm credible at all, if you think the work that I've put into this show over the last year and a half, that I've built any level of credibility, that things I've reported have or have not been accurate, that's up for you to decide. I'm telling you, this is a source close to Caden Proctor, and the Iowa visit is what this individual explained to me. Not telling you to believe it, but I just, I didn't think we'd have the argument that it's not relevant. It is relevant. And anyways, I don't care to continue to talk about it, but if this comment hadn't been brought up, I probably wouldn't have addressed it again. Anyways, again, love you, Nathan. Thank you for being here. Erica, thank you for the super chat. I don't consider Nathan to be a hater. I'm sure he's just upset about the Caden Proctor situation too.
The emotions are high, logic is low.
Yeah. So anyway, how you doing? No, hold on a second. I'm not that I don't care how you're doing. I was about to lose, man. They're about to lose this game.
Dude, I got two stats for you right here, and they're as basic as you could get. This is gonna blow your socks off. They started this game up 18-4, and when I last checked about 2 minutes ago, they have lost the rest of the game to the 356th ranked team in KenPom, 76-49.
How many Division I teams are there? How many Division I teams are there?
Is it 363, 362? There's like 6 teams or 7 teams below them in KenPom. I mean, this is about the worst. Here's my other number for you that I saw. They, according to KenPom, they were 40-point favorites on a neutral site. Their KenPom rating is -20, and Iowa's
they're about to lose, but they're about to lose by double digits.
Yeah, they're going to lose to the spread by 50 points. The KenPom spread, at least. I don't know what the actual spread was, but I look at the KenPom.
I know we toss words like this out a lot, but let me just slow it down and say it very profoundly. One word: unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You could not have convinced me, Kyle. There was no way you could have convinced me that there was any chance Iowa lost this game.
No.
And they're going to lose. It's a 12-point. They're down 12 now. The lead is growing. They're down 12.
I mean, they've lost the second half by 25 points. And here's the thing too. Like two guys, again, I'm going to keep giving him his props because he keeps deserving it. Philip Abracha is still playing well. He's got 22 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Peyton Sanford's playing all right. He's got, I mean, I guess he's not shooting great, but he's got 17. Like,
listen, I'm watching the whole game, and they've given up 85. They've given up 85 to one of the teams. I'm telling you, Kyle, last year, I know this is a different team. Last year, East Carolina was one of the worst offensive teams that I'd ever seen in my entire life. They averaged like 50 some points a game. It was one of the worst teams I've ever evaluated, and they've given up 85 at home.
The mark of a great MVP season, like when Steph Curry had his MVP year in 2016, it was like the mark of shooting greatness was 50-40-90. They're shooting 60-40-90 against us right here. 60% from the field. They're out shooting Iowa from the field by 23%, 22%. Goodness gracious.
I'll tell you, and here's the deal. This is what, and I know maybe I'm just pushing the panic button way too soon, and this is obviously not indicative of who they are. But holy cow, man! Like if this, regardless, they have you have to do a lot to make up for something like this.
This one game could be the difference between an 8-7 seed and a 10 seed or a first 4 team.
Well, I'm thinking just making the tournament. I'm assuming Iowa's going to be if before today, if we were projecting Iowa to be a 9 through 11 seeded team, this could kill you 2 or 3 or better seed lines. That's how bad this is.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Kyle, we've got one more athlete here jumping on, and then we're going to be trying to walk our way through a post-game show with former Iowa coach Gary Close. I sure hope Gary shows up, because I'm telling you right now, Kyle, after the last 4 hours, and I've enjoyed every minute of this program, I don't know that I can make it through an hour-long show where people are coming at me. Why are you talking about Caden Proctor? Iowa Hawkeyes suck. I can't do that. Yeah. So I just hope that Gary Close shows up, because wow, what a weird series of events. By the way, 9-point game. The Hawks have cut the lead to 9, 86-77, but Eastern Illinois at the free throw line. This game's over. It's over.
They've had an 80% or higher chance to lose the game since maybe the 8-minute mark or 7-minute mark.
Wow. All right, Kyle.
It's a joke. Hey, I mean, maybe I've got football stuff. I'll maybe call into the basketball post-game show after Coach Close leaves, and we can switch it up. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, Kyle. We'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good, Corey.
All right, folks. I'm sorry to go off on a rant about basketball. I've never seen anything like this. Iowa lost a bye game to Nebraska Omaha years ago, and we're talking like 2016. I don't know what Nebraska – I'll go back and look at that after this. I don't know what Nebraska Omaha was in 2016 as it relates to KenPom, but they had to be better than this Eastern Illinois team. I've never seen anything like it. The fact that I have to wait a half an hour before we get to Gary Close is somewhat depressing. Let's cheer myself up. Let's see if we can get in a better mood here. We're going to welcome in now Iowa defensive back John Nestor. John, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing excellent. Appreciate you taking the time on this. Well, it's snowy here in Chicago. What's the weather like in the Windy City for you?
It's pretty cold, probably like 20 degrees, super windy, but no snow yet. A little snow a couple days ago, but we're about to get like a foot coming in on Friday. So
we just got off the phone a few minutes ago with Iowa wide receiver commit, signee now, Jared Dewey from Tampa. And, of course, he's a kid who is going to have to adjust to Midwest weather. You are not.
No.
So talk about your upbringing in the Chicago area. Have you lived there your whole life? Just talk about your Midwest roots.
Yeah. So I've lived in Chicago for the first 12, 13 years of my life. And then my dad was a coach for the Wisconsin Badgers for a season. He was part of their strength and conditioning program. So I was up there for a year, decided to move back. And we've been in Chicago since my freshman year of high school. So a little mix of a change, but I mean, we still got that Midwest feel and just living in both states. So, yeah.
And you've, of course, been committed to this class for a while. You are a guy who was recruited. Phil Parker knows what he's doing. I guess that's the best way to say that. I said it 4 or 5 times during this show alone. Obviously, he likes your ability. You're a ball hawk. I think most guys at Iowa recruits in their defensive backfield that they are ball hawks. They have a knack for finding the ball and typically have good hands. Is that consistent with how you evaluate your own game?
Yeah, for sure. I think I bring a versatility to my game. I think I'm like a little. I can do a lot of things on the football field. On the defensive side of the ball, I can play man to man with anyone on the field, whether it's slot, tight ends, and then like the wideouts. I mean, I can come downhill. I can make tackles. I have good closing speed. I can cover really well. So, yeah, I would say that the ball hawking term is part of my game for sure.
Somebody earlier called in and comparing you and Khalil Tate. Just you guys coming in together. What do you know about Khalil Tate? I'm assuming you would project yourself as a future safety. Is that fair to say at Iowa?
Yeah. I mean, I think my most natural position is safety. I played corner my junior year, and that corner position was like a lot of man. It was like probably 80% of my position was man to man. So like no help over the top. It was just me and like their best wide receiver. Where I play in the Catholic League. Chicago Catholic League, so it was like we're going up against like either a Division I receiver every week or a tough, hard-nosed, Chicago receiver. So I can play corner, and I can play corner really well, and I can also come off the edge and kind of cover man-to-man in the slot too. So I can also play the catch position. But I would say probably my more natural position is safety. But I can play wherever.
What was it about Iowa that was attractive to you? I mean, you look at through your offers, you had some opportunities across the landscape at some high major schools from the 247 Sports. You had Iowa State, Kansas, Minnesota was in on your Purdue. I am intrigued by the fact that Wisconsin didn't offer you. You have connections there, your family. And, I don't know how close they were to offering, but what appealed to you about Phil Parker in Iowa?
I mean, what's there not appealing about him? He's known for taking these DBs that are low recruited or not as decorated in like the recruiting cycle, and he puts them through the Phil Parker wheel, and he puts them out as first round, second round, third round draft picks. He's the best at developing DBs, and when I just saw that, I mean, and the proof is in the pudding with him. So when I saw that, just like the wide variety of DBs that he has, what's the word I'm looking for? Developed. It was just a no-brainer for me. And he was really straight up with me at the start, like super transparent. It was almost like he didn't want me to come to Iowa. He was not as appealing as all the other recruiters. He's like, hey man, if you want to come here, I'll do what I do. And I'll get you to the NFL. And I was like, all right, sweet, let's do it. So yeah, that was probably the most appealing part about him.
And Seth Wallace was involved in your recruitment as well. Oh, yeah. Those two guys are obviously proven. I mean, I know Seth Wallace is coaching linebackers and doing a fine job at that. But so what do you know about Khalil Tate? I mean, he's a guy who there's going to be some comparisons because proximity to you and coming in the same class. And I think Khalil's probably a safety, or maybe he moves down to the hybrid position that Iowa has at Cash. What are your thoughts on him? What do you know about Khalil?
Khalil's a great dude, man. So I train with him. I train with him at One Performance right here. And I'm here now, but Khalil is a very athletic, and he's a very smart football player. He like you were just saying, he's a very versatile player. He can play that nickel position. He can play safety, and he can also play corner. I've seen him, and just seeing him, like we both play on the south side of Chicago. He dominates, and when he touches the field, like he knows that he's the best player on the field. And to play with that type of swag and confidence is really, really hard to find. But that's what the Iowa, that's like the mold that Iowa, puts out. Like he's gonna fit in right in with Iowa, and I can't wait to play with him. So I'm very excited to play with him, and yeah.
And just glancing through the rest of this class, you're obviously going to be getting to know guys like Keegan Davis, who's an Illinois kid who just committed here recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, Zach Lutmer, Aiden Hall. We just had him on earlier. It sounds like maybe Iowa has plans for him at safety, and then maybe a move to linebacker down the road. What do you know about those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about Keegan. I mean, he just committed, I think, like a couple days ago. I mean, but if the Iowa coaches, if they decide to offer him, I'm sure he's going to fit in right with us. Zach and Aiden are like, they kind of go hand in hand. They're both athletic freaks. They're the type of people that when they touch the field, like that they're like that term they call the freak, like a freak athlete. I know they're super fast, but both I feel like the kind of like the similarity between all of us is like we're all very versatile. Like we're like our speed and athleticism, and our ball playmaking, like it's all like it all goes hand in hand. And I think that we're all very different football players, but we all share a lot of similarities between all of us. And they're all great guys. I kind of got to know them throughout this recruiting process. Hard workers, I know that for sure. And I can't wait to play with them. They're great dudes.
Any former Iowa DB or NFL DB that you maybe emulate your game after you really admire?
Iowa DB, I would definitely go. I would say Riley Moss or Sebastian Castro. Sebastian Castro, he kind of comes from my area where he lives in Oak Lawn, and that's where I live. That dude has no fear, and I love seeing that type of stuff on the football field. Like that dude will come down. I'm not sure if you saw this play, but he made a lot of big hits. But the Rutgers game where he calls the forced fumble, and Merriweather took it back for 6. I mean, that dude, it just shows, like, especially in big games, he shows up, and he's a little, like, I'm not sure how big he is. I think I heard he's a little undersized, but he's the type of kid that doesn't care, what everyone says. He does his thing, and he plays his game. So I really admire that. Riley Moss, he was my host for the official visit weekend. He's awesome. I mean, he doesn't give a what, So he's a great player too, and I really try to model my game after him, especially him and DeJean. They're very versatile. They're very confident players, and especially in big games, when they're on man to man on an island, they're really like, hey, like instead of shying away from the big show, they're like, hey, like I'm right here, like I want it, and I try to model my game right after that too.
You Bears fan?
I am, but I'm not. I try to support the Bears, but it's kind of like I get this hope, like, oh God, Justin Fields he's our guy, and then it's just like they blow, So I'm but I like the Bears. But another DB in the NFL that I kind of model my game after is Tyrann Mathieu. I wear 7 after him. The Honey Badger, like I watched him growing up play at LSU, and like he's just like a human highlight reel. And like one thing that goes beyond that is like the character he is. He's really for his team, and he's a player that really cares about like his teammates. Like wants to get them better, and it's big leadership on and off the field. So that's who I kind of model my game after as well.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. I know it's a big day, and it's been a busy day, and you're, you don't take a day off, so that's a good sign for what you're going to be getting when you get to Iowa. You'll be here in the summer, correct?
Yeah, June 9th, I think it is.
June 9th. Well, we'll look forward to chatting with you at Media Day in August, and as you saw this year, I mean, TJ Hall's a great example of a DB who, through freshman, he gets thrown into the mix, and not that he didn't go through adversity, but guys, especially in Phil Parker's room, have a potential to play early if they work hard. And oftentimes it starts on special teams, and I know you'll do that. So, John, again, thank you for being here, and we'll talk again soon.
For sure. Thank you. See you.
Thanks, John. All right, folks. Been a great 3 hours. Man, flown by. I want to thank our sponsor once again. I've been talking about Iowa floor covering. You've seen their logo up in the right-hand corner of the screen. Their Tough Core click-together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring available at $269 per foot with self-installation. Visit iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. Again, regardless of your flooring needs, give them a call, shoot them a message through their website. Reason to believe they will help you because they're great people, great folks down there, and they are an Iowa business, right? Locally owned, locally operated. Check out their stuff. Great deals at iowafloorcovering.com, including this great deal with self-installation on this Tough Core flooring. The snow's coming down hard, folks, here in Ames. And the Iowa men's basketball team I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. We're gonna spend the last we're already down into our last half hour or so. We will continue to talk about Iowa's class. No more recruits scheduled, folks. The lines are open. All right, the lines are open. So if you're gonna call, if you've been waiting to call, do so now, because we're talking basketball with Gary Close. As hard as that's gonna be, ooh, I can't even think about that basketball game right now. Weird. Don't have any way to explain it. Give us a call, 515-635-1601. Let me also pull up the link in the description. I'll throw that in the live chat here. Let's do that here. All right. Let's get to our caller on the phone lines. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, it's the real MVP. How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you? Well, I'm okay.
Well,
wait. Are you going to start in on basketball?
Yeah, I was going to.
Please, listen.
No, Corey, let me help you. As a Kentucky fan, we went through this with St. Peter's.
No, we didn't. St. Peter's was not. No. Don't disrespect Shaheen Holloway. St. Peter's is nothing. St. Peter's 2021 was nothing compared to this Eastern Illinois team.
Do you mean that in a positive or negative way?
I mean that Eastern Illinois is one of the worst teams in Division I. That St. Peter's was a tournament team that knocked off Purdue. They knocked off, who else did they beat? Kentucky,
Murray State.
No, that's unfair. That's unfair to Shaheen Holloway and the Mighty Peacocks.
The Mighty Peacocks. But I mean, in terms of the size, the surprisingness of the upset, I think they're on a similar scale. Like who saw that coming beforehand, Corey?
I still don't believe that I've watched. I still don't believe that it happened. So I can't answer that.
Well, Corey, you know basically what I went through. Like when I watched Kentucky versus St. Peter's, it was so surreal that I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. It was just pure stun. There was no emotion in a negative or positive direction. It was like, that really happened. Well, I guess we're moving on to the next game.
Drill MVP, we've got 170 people on here. I know some people don't care about basketball, so we're going to keep this call somewhat short. We'll talk about hoops with Gary Close, but I do want to ask you this question before we let you go, Drill MVP. You have a good feel for the college basketball landscape as a whole. You know, I don't know that Kentucky's ever lost. I don't know that Kentucky's ever had a loss this bad. I don't know that has Iowa ever had a loss this bad? That's a good question. Have they ever had a more unbelievable loss than this? I don't have the answer to that question. But my question to you, Drill MVP, how much do you see this hurting a team like Iowa in March? That's my question. Regardless of, like, they come back and bounce back and just resume where they were and pick up where they left off and start winning games. I think they're a team that can hit 500 in the Big Ten, assuming this was just a complete fluke. But if this was a fluke, how much does this hurt you in March?
If Iowa goes 500, if they're compared to any bubble team in the tournament, I would not select them because of this game.
Well, yeah, and Wilbur brings up Northwestern State. I'm sorry, but no, again, I know it was devastating, and the Richmond loss last year was devastating. We're talking about a Northwestern State that was a tournament team.
Well, do you remember just last year when Wisconsin lost to Nebraska and how much that hurt Wisconsin's stock?
And that's a Big Ten team they lost to.
Right. They lost. Did they lose like 2 or 3 seed lines because of that game? They lost like 15, 20 places in the net, something crazy like that because of how surprising that upset was.
Yeah, no, you're right. But this is worse than all that. So,
I guess, absolutely. No offense, Corey, but absolutely. This is going to hurt.
The only advantage, and it's not an advantage, it's just trying to find a silver lining to Iowa losing today to Eastern Illinois, is that it happened in December. I mean,
there's still plenty of basketball.
There's basketball to be played. You've got 3 months of hoops. I hope that we look back at this in March and say, well, that sucked, but didn't matter. That was embarrassing, but didn't matter. You know, I mean,
well, let me give you another silver lining. Unlike Kentucky versus St. Peter's, Iowa has a chance at redemption because of all Iowa has to do is win the Big Ten tournament, and they're in. And none of this matters because once you're in that tournament, I believe anybody can win it. Mostly anybody can win it. So it isn't the last game of the season. I don't think Fran should be fired. Hopefully this wakes up a few of the players and a few of the coaching staffs because with the result like this, I'm pretty sure people were not preparing for this game.
That is, that is the only thing that can come from this game. The only good thing is you just hope that somehow this just shoots a shot of adrenaline into all of these guys. They have to go 8 days now off. They sit for 8 days before they get back to basketball. And believe me, they're getting back to basketball. They're going to play Nebraska, who, by the way, has won some big games this year. So the bottom line
well, Corey,
is,
with a loss like this, they could literally play about anybody and literally anyone in the country, and Iowa should be focused on them like a laser from now until their final game of the season. There isn't a team you possibly can name that should be significantly worse than Eastern Illinois if you look at the rankings.
Your MVP, you saw the YouTube short that I released here a week ago, and it was from an earlier, longer video that I produced back in the offseason about non-conference play, and it was the last non-conference preview game of the season. And you heard me say, I've been doing this show and podcasting for a long time. I have never seen a team that Iowa has been on Iowa's schedule in any sport as bad as Eastern Illinois. I said that back in the summer. I've never evaluated a team that was this bad ever. I just haven't. Can I just run and then we can get off the subject? And I want to finish with football, the real MVP, because we got about 20 minutes left, and then we're going to come back to basketball. Believe me. But let me find the comment here. Give me just a second here. Okay. So that last season, Eastern Illinois, the team Iowa just lost to by double digits at home, finished last in the Ohio Valley. Their net was 356 out of 358. Their final KenPom was 357 out of 358. They averaged 56 points per game, which is ranked 357 out of 358 teams. Their leading scorer averaged 8.9, and he was a senior, which means he's gone. I've never evaluated a team like that. I've never seen anything like it on Iowa's schedule.
Well, Corey, this is why you should never overlook anybody. Regardless of how obscure or how long the shot is, anybody can beat anybody in college basketball, and I think this result just further solidifies that.
Josh Gibson says, heard our players had the flu. Did everybody have the flu? Because anybody on scholarship, any 5 that Iowa put on scholarship should be able to win this game. Is that unfair to say?
I haven't watched much Eastern Illinois basketball this year, but I would assume that's correct.
You haven't?
I haven't watched any Eastern Illinois. I know they were 3-9 before this game. I wasn't grinding the tape for Eastern Illinois, Corey.
All right. We got to get off this subject. You got anything football related? By the way, we haven't gotten to our show with I almost said Gary Patterson. With Don Patterson, we'll talk Iowa, Kentucky. Anything to add about the Iowa class or maybe the bowl game coming up?
The bowl game, I wish Cade McNamara and Devin Leary would be able to play in it. That would make the bowl game much more interesting to me. But, I mean, what can you say? It'll probably be 3-2 either way. So,
you say Devin Leary?
Yeah, the NC State quarterback.
Oh,
he transferred to Kentucky.
I forgot that he went to Kentucky. Man. So I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot the fact that that's a big ad for Kentucky. That's a big ad for Kentucky.
Yeah, he was the #1 ranked quarterback in the transfer portal.
So there goes Deuce Hogan's chance at starting next season.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. Fascinating from a young person perspective. It's going to be fascinating to see if Deuce Hogan sees the field on the 31st. I probably would take an injury, but great opportunity for Iowa right now as we speak. They're practicing and developing these guys, especially the younger guys. I mentioned guys like Jacob Bostic. Be fascinating to see how he plays. If he plays Cohen and Tringer, I mean, we'll see. They're dealing with some depth issues at safety. Maybe he sees the field. Opportunities for young guys, and if they can play, you're going to be playing in favorable weather. I mean, unless it starts raining, you're not going to be playing, in the freezing cold. These are favorable conditions for young guys to see the field, and in a game that I don't want to say doesn't matter, but there's not as many. There are not huge implications here, so we should be able to get a fair look at these guys against someone other than Iowa.
Right. Well, Kentucky's lost their best quarterback to Will Levis, and their best running back, Chris Rodriguez, is also sitting out for the bowl game. So Iowa should have plenty of opportunities to look amazing on defense. The closest I can compare Kentucky to is when they played South Carolina. And Kentucky's offense did not look good at all. Like, it was really bad, Corey.
Well, Kentucky
Iowa could have 10 sacks against Kentucky. I'm not even trolling. Like,
Kentucky wasn't good offensively before Levis left, before he opted out, before Rodriguez opted out. They were bad before.
Yeah, I know, but Chris Rodriguez could move the ball just because of Will, like 2 or 3 yards. He always somehow dived forward to gain an extra yard, and Kentucky just doesn't have that in any of their running backs behind. Yep. Like with Cavassier Smoke, I'm pretty sure he entered the transfer portal, and a few others. Like, we're pretty thin on running back, which is surprising because that was the unit I was most comfortable in. So it's going to be, I think, an ugly slugfest game. But Corey, it'll be okay. Just breathe in, breathe out. Everything will be okay. There's plenty of more basketball games to go, and Iowa still has all their goals in front of them.
Do they?
I yes, guess they do.
I guess you're right, but this might be, well, again, I know we're harping on this, but last thing I'll say is does this have the opportunity to be the worst loss of any team in the Power 5 all year?
This might be the worst. Well, other than Cal. Cal's got some really bad losses.
No, because we know Cal's bad. I'm talking about teams like biggest upsets. Maybe that'd be the right word. Biggest upsets.
Yeah, I think this will probably be the biggest upset all year. If not, maybe even in the past 5 or 10 years. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, this is, Corey, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is really bad for Iowa.
Incredible. Yeah. So, anyways, all right, Drill MVP, you're welcome to call in with Gary, but we've harped on this enough.
Yeah, I'll try to do some more research about how big this upset was before the show. You've done a great job today with your show, so thank you for doing this for the Iowa Nation.
Thank you for supporting it, sir.
No problem.
All right. Well, Drill MVP getting a call in. Appreciate that. Always love listening to Drill MVP, having him call in. We are here for the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so. All right. We were talking before we had our callers, and we're going to get back. We've got Kyle here waiting to jump back on. I wanted to run through a couple of we kind of ran through. If you missed my signing day preview, you could still go back and watch that, because basically what I do is I just go do a quick rundown of these guys, Iowa signees. Of course, Caden Proctor, now not one of those signees, is signing with Alabama today. But before that last caller, we were talking about Leighton Jones, Alex Mota, Ben Keeter, Trevor Lauk. Chase Brackney's a guy we didn't have on today. Good size at 6'4", 285. Does he end up being a tackle or an edge rusher? He's listed as an edge, but wouldn't be surprised given his size if he moves inside. And Terrio Thompson, I mean, Mo, it's hard not to rank him towards the top of this class, right? I mean, I regardless of what the rankings say, it's hard given his intangibles to not want to put him up as high as you can. He's going to be fun to watch. Zach Ortworth out of St. Louis, they've been struggling a bit recruiting tight ends, which is a shock. Now they got Eric All, which helps, but Ortworth they needed. And again, I don't know as much about Zach. I mean, evaluated him a little bit when he committed, but they needed his services. They got him. He signed today. Kenneth Merriweather, really athletic guy, played a lot of receiver over at Martin Luther King in Detroit. He'll be an edge rusher. He's going to be good, folks. He's going to be athletic. He is athletic. John Nestor, we talked to on the phone. I know I kind of say the same thing over and over again with DBs. They're ball hawks. They're disciplined. I mean, what else do you expect from Phil Parker's group? Marco Lainez is the centerpiece of this class, and that's how it should be, right? I mean, I know Caden Proctor is a 5-star guy, so maybe we got distracted with that, and rightfully so. Marco Lainez is the focal point of this class, and Iowa, you could say Iowa built around him. His relationships with Dayton Howard, Alex Mota, and Jarrett Bowie will be huge, right? Those guys, they're going to develop chemistry. Jacob Bostic will probably be one of those guys too, because he's just 1 year in. It'll be interesting to see. And I mentioned Dayton Howard, 6'5". He even said maybe closer to 6'6". Underrated. No other offers. Dayton Howard didn't have a single other Division I or Division II or Division III or NAIA offer. That is incredible. And you may say it's a bad sign. I think it's intriguing. Now, if he ends up being a bust, then yeah, I mean, that's in hindsight, you're like, oh, what did Iowa see there? But we'll see. Terrell Washington Jr. flipped from Purdue. He decommitted after Brom left. We'll see if he ends up being a receiver or running back, probably a back. So he'll be a nice complement to what Iowa already has. Maddox Borcherding Johnson, bright kid, great kid, comes from a great family, great roots down there in Norwalk. Happy for him. He's been locked in for a long time. Going to be interesting to see his development. Aiden Hall, hard worker. I mean, he had offers from Air Force and Army. Comes from a great football-rich community in Harlan. Cannon Leonard, 6'9". I mean, this dude's 6'9" from Iroquois West in Illinois. He says he's a tackle. He's not moving over to tight end. I didn't ask him about defensive tackle. I suppose, it's possible. Anthony Nelson is like 6'8", but Cannon Leonard will be interesting to see how big he gets. He's listed at 265 right now. Zach Lutmer, we talked to him as well. Grew up a Minnesota fan. He's going to be looking forward to the battle for the Floyd of Rosedale from the small town of Rock Rapids. Again, been locked in a long time, small community, hard worker. Heard nothing but good things about him and his character. Jarrett Bowie, going to have to adjust to the weather, right? Jesuit, Tampa, Florida kid, 6'3", 182, good size, good speed. Somebody asked me earlier how I describe his speed. That'd be a better question for Don Patterson. We're going to talk again to Don as we preview Iowa, Kentucky here in the next week. But they needed him, and he was the best guy out there that Iowa was in on late in the cycle. They needed him at receiver. Tegan Davis committed here a couple days ago. I really like him. Played quarterback in high school at Princeton. Very good athlete with some good size at 6'2", 175. He'll get a little bit bigger, but as far as height is concerned, he's what you want. 6'2". I wonder if he'll end up being a corner. I mean, I don't know. We play a lot of corner in high school as well. I would have to think. My guess is he's a safety, but not all these guys can play safety, right? Somebody's going to have to play corner. TJ Hall's a 6'2" corner. Maybe Tegan Davis ends up being a 6'2" corner. And Tegan Davis had one other offer, and it was from Eastern Illinois. He was a flip from Eastern Illinois, the same team that basketball court just beat Iowa. Kamari Moulton, late running back ad from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Maybe him and Jarrett Bowie will kind of get along. And I should have asked him about Kamari. I'm guessing those guys maybe know each other just because of their roots in Florida. 5'9", 180, a little undersized, but boy, I mean, there are great examples even in the NFL of guys who are undersized who find a way to make it big. And he was a guy who absolutely was under recruited. I mean, he didn't have any other Power 5 offers. I think his best offer was, was he committed? See, I don't know. I'm going to make sure I don't speak out of turn here. I know UConn offered him. So he was committed. That he is the guy who is committed to FAU. So he's a flip, a decommit from FAU. Iowa was able to land him. Keep in mind, that was primarily a result of losing Kendrick Raphael. He was a guy, a 4-star guy who was locked in. He decommits, and the Hawkeyes add Kamari Moulton. Cade Piper, Norfolk, Nebraska kid, at 6'3", 240. He's going to have to get bigger, but North Dakota State offered, which is always a good sign, right? North Dakota State offered, South Dakota offered, North Dakota offered. Flying under the radar is going to have to work in that weight room. But if those schools if North Dakota State's offering, I would guess that they have reason to believe he's going to be a hard worker. Same could be said for Iowa offering. And then, of course, Eric Hall, great experience, NFL guy at tight end if he's healthy. Cade McNamara, great experience. He's a winner. Going to be a great storyline with those two Michigan products. And Iowa is not done in this class. I shouldn't say in this class, but in this cycle. They will add more guys in the portal. You just hope they're the right guys. Let's get to our caller. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I'm calling you from San Diego. I love your show. I don't always get to hear it, but I catch it later. Out here, if you did something like the assistant coach, the offensive coach, he would be replaced mid-season. And me not, we're not from back there anymore, but I'd just like to know if I see on TV Eric Gold says they should fire Barta. I agree. You can't blame Kurt for wanting to fire his own kid, but the athletic director should be doing this. And if he can't do it, he should be gone too.
Well,
My question to you is, what do you think?
Well, I've been very outspoken on that. I absolutely agree with you. I think Brian needs to be gone. To defend keeping him here, given the situation, no, he absolutely should be gone. There's no reason other than nepotism to allow a guy like that to continue on staff.
Well, thank you. You guys have got the best recruiting class you've ever had, and to have something like this that could ruin it. It's just, I'm surprised they've kept as many guys as they had, because the offense stunk, and the coaching in a particular offensive area stunk. And if we just had somebody that could hand off the ball and get 4 yards, we would have won the rest of the games.
Yeah,
and plus throw a couple passes. I'm sorry.
That's the frustration with this Iowa program right now, is the defense is competing at an all-time high, but you're not going to be able to keep Phil Parker forever. You're not going to be able to keep LeVar Woods forever. So we've said this over and over again, but the vantage point from some fans is we're wasting what we've gotten those guys, and I don't disagree with that. You double down again, or triple down, or quadruple down on Brian Ferentz for one more year. You run the risk of blowing your opportunity with those coaches who are putting elite units on the field year after year after year. It's you bring up a valid point.
Yeah, the rest of the coaching staff's great. It just, but if you're a wide receiver, it's tough to go where somebody can't get the ball to you. If you're fast, I'm saying fast, and we need a 4 or 5 star speedster that would open up the game, and then somebody has to throw it to him.
Yeah, you're right. I do like Marco Lainez. If there's any reason, sir, to have confidence in the future, it's a guy like Marco Lainez, but he needs coaching. He still needs coaching. So I don't have confidence in Brian. I don't think a lot of people have confidence in Brian. So we'll just have to wait and see. But having good personnel is first things first. You got to have the personnel.
Yeah, I love that kid. I saw it on your show, and before I went out for a walk, it's just, he's fantastic. Just he's got his head together.
Absolutely. Sir, I got to let you go because I hit my
Thank
hour,
you.
but I really appreciate you being here, and feel free to join us over on the basketball postgame show, but we'll be here throughout the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. It has been fun, folks. We've been here for 4 straight hours. Here's the deal. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be with you for the next hour, and I'm going to be joined by the one and only Coach Gary Close. We are going to be doing Iowa postgame with Coach Gary Close. Remember, if you're not interested in basketball, that's okay, but please hit the like button on your way out, and please donate to the channel. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. You can donate by credit card by means of PayPal in the description below. Check out our merch line. It's in the description as well. T-shirts, mugs, whatever. Bibs for your toddlers, whatever. We got it all. Certainly check it out. And you can shop Amazon with us. Link in the description for that as well. That helps the channel. Thank you to the Johnny O Show for all his help. Become a premium subscriber. Click join next to From the Hawkeye of the Storm. Iowa postgame with Coach Gary Close coming up. Here's the deal. I'm going to put this in the chat. Let me do this real quick before we go off the air. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. This is the link to hit, folks, to join our live show with Coach Gary Close. I just threw it up in the chat. Thank you for being here over the last 4 hours. It's been fun. Thank you to every single recruit who joined me this evening. I'll be sure to post reminders. I didn't get a chance to. I'll throw them up in this description later on today. Links to each of our recruiting interviews we've done with some of these prospects. We will be back soon talking football, but we're back in a few minutes talking basketball with Coach Gary Close. We'll talk to you over at Iowa postgame. Thank you for being here, and have a great evening.